Hey, welcome. We are live here in Coralville, Iowa. Brian Glenn, Vanessa Broussard, once again continuing our coverage of election 2024. And we were just saying off camera before we came on here, it seems like you and I have been in Iowa, perhaps not at the same time, at separate times, a dozen or more times so far this year.
Absolutely, and I'm not complaining because it's a wonderful state. We're in Coralville today. The people here are wonderful. It's beginning to look a lot like winter here in Iowa.
We look a lot like Christmas here, actually, with the red.
We're 12 days away.
Yeah, we are.
We are getting close, and people thought we planned this, but we didn't. We're just in the Christmas spirit, and, you know, red is the color of Christmas. Red is the color of the Republican Party, so you know what? It goes hand in hand. So, yeah, it's great to be here in Iowa. Poll numbers are looking great for President Trump. So far, so good. Historic numbers. We'll talk about that a little later. But, we've been here a lot here in Iowa. In fact, I had never been to Iowa before I came for a Trump event, and here we are multiple times over and over again, but I love it.
I love it, too. And, of course, the caucus is all set up for a January 15th caucus right here at 7 p.m. We're going to have more about that and talk about what exactly is a caucus, because it's really interesting because this is kind of a one-of-a-kind way they select their nominee here in Iowa. And, of course, you've got after that, you go over to New Hampshire primary in February. Obviously, a different way they do that as well. So we're going to talk about the caucus and, more importantly, who is eligible to caucus. Now, there was some controversy earlier in the week when Casey DeSantis said in a video, in an interview, about having people come from out of state to help caucus. And I want to clarify a little bit of what she said and what I think she meant, but what came off there. So bigly, like as you said, for President Trump here in this state. I mean, almost to the point where it's a historical lead going into the Iowa caucus. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Plus, so much happening in Washington, D.C. today. I feel like I'm missing out on all of the breaking news by being here. A lot with Hunter. Hunter Biden did show up on the Hill. He showed up in the wrong place, but he did show up in Washington, D.C. And, of course, a little bit later, in about an hour, actually, the House will vote on a formal impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden. Now, an impeachment inquiry was already submitted last under Kevin McCarthy. Now this is a formal impeachment inquiry. We'll talk about what that means to the impeachment process a little bit later. But let's talk about our friends over at Birch Gold. You know, we've often just talked about the economy, the way people are struggling, and how there's so much uncertainty in the market right now. And our friends over at the Birch Gold Group want to make it as easy as possible to take that first step, investing in gold, silver, and precious metals. And that's why, like right now, if you text the words Trump to 989898, they're going to qualify for $5,000 in free coins and silver. So it must be eligible for that. You can also purchase gold and silver and have it shipped to your house safely, or better yet, you could convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a gold-backed IRA. Our friends at Birch Gold Group want to help you do just that. Just text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Now, we talked about the polls, and of course, Vanessa, you and I have watched the polls for months now. It continues to go up here in Iowa.
It's looking good for President Donald J. Trump. You know, as you mentioned, the polls continue to climb. He doesn't have to attend the debates. They continue to climb. The more that he's attacked by attorney generals and the left, his poll numbers go up. Americans are waking up to what's happening in this country, the destruction of this country, and the attacks against President Trump. And so the more all of this happens, the more his numbers go up. And I think they're panicking right now.
They are panicking. And, of course, a judge just today kind of paused the case in D.C. And if we kind of punted that, and we'll see exactly how that plays out. That was scheduled to start in March. And all of this is to build up to hurt the President Trump's campaign here in 2024. But the exact opposite has happened. Each one of these indictments, whether it's in New York or down in Florida or anywhere, or in D.C. rather, it has helped his campaign. And, of course, President Trump has spent a lot of time here in Iowa. I've got the latest polls here. Let me pull it up. Right now, Trump is at 50%. That's a 32 plus point lead over DeSantis, and then Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. And of course, Chris Christie in any poll is around the 2 to 3%. So at the very, very bottom. Asa Hutchinson doesn't even show up in a lot of these pollings. He is pulling some tremendous numbers, and this is really interesting on this number. Florida, Trump is at 60% of the vote. He is 37 points higher than DeSantis, and DeSantis is governor of Florida. Now, I was talking to people earlier that were from Florida, and they said, look, we love Governor Ron DeSantis. He's a great governor for the state, but he kind of ruined it in his future chances in the Republican Party for kind of, stepping on the toes, if lack of a better word, for President Trump.
Absolutely. And, we talked a lot about being in Iowa the last couple of months. We've been here a lot, but I've spent a lot of time, as you have, in Florida as well. And the people of Florida are actually upset with Governor DeSantis for running for president, to turn on President Trump, to turn on the Maga movement. That's how they're seeing it. And they want him as governor. And I've even asked, do you think that he will be supported in the long run as governor? And they just say, we don't know. Yeah. And this all backfired on DeSantis and the DeSantis campaign. I think they thought it would be a head-to-head matchup with President Trump. And what they're seeing is that's not the case. And so I think his future in politics is in limbo. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from the people of Florida who are telling me this.
Yeah, okay, so look at some of the polling coming out of South Carolina. Trump is at 57% on that, up 38. And then California, massive blowout there. He's up 61 points there in California. So Trump continues to expand on his lead in these states. But even more importantly, if you look at a head-to-head with President Biden, Trump, and I've always said this, Vanessa, in the very beginning they would say, oh, it's between 1 or 2 points. And I used to say baloney on that. It's a lot more than that. Now you're starting to see a 4, 6, 7, 10-point lead on Joe Biden, depending on what poll and depending what state you look at. That is huge. And that's why, in my opinion, you've got the Democrats and the mainstream media kind of scrambling right now, because the reality of not only President Trump winning the Republican primary, but winning a head-to-head with Joe Biden is now something that's very, very possible.
Yeah, it's very likely. And so that's why they're doing anything they can to keep him off the ballots in these Democrat-run states. And as you see, we're talking about things backfiring. That's backfiring on them too, because it's being upheld that he can be on the ballots in these states, and they're big wins for the Trump campaign and his team whenever they are winning in these states. And so, they're doing anything they can to keep him off the ballot. And we were talking earlier about why. The numbers were so good under Trump, whether it was building a border wall, securing our country, whether it was our economy, no wars, peace in the Middle East. Why would they not want someone like this to run our country?
Well, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm glad that you said that, because this was one of the things I wanted to talk about. And I'll tell you guys what I told Vanessa. Washington doesn't want to solve problems, and that is very evident to what's been going on the last 8-9 months since the Republicans have been in charge. The problems are very solvable. And when someone comes in like President Trump, that's a businessman, a very accomplished, successful businessman that has the solutions and the answers to these problems, they don't like that. They know that he came in and cleaned out a lot of the deep state. Before President Trump, you and I, the deep state was a term that was was thrown around, but we didn't quite know what that meant.
Right.
We didn't really know who the deep state was and what their overall plan was. But when you see what has happened to the Department of Justice, the CIA, the FBI, even the DOD, and in fact you could say, the way it's been weaponized against their political opponent, we have never seen that before on this level. So the fact that they will do whatever they can to prevent President Trump, once again, from getting into the White House, and he says it in his speeches, and he'll say it again today. He will break down the deep state. That's why they are going to throw everything at him to stop this. If it's the legal process, great. If it's any type of voting, we've always said, we said this earlier, when COVID happened, we had these massive drop boxes and all of this stuff that we had to adhere to because of safety protocols. They need to disrupt the election process in order to do whatever they need to do to ensure that Trump does not win this election. So in a long form, that's exactly why I feel like they do not want him to win, because they know that he will tear down the deep state.
Absolutely, he will. He started for the first 4 years that he was in office, and if he's in office again, he'll continue to do so. But in the meantime, he has opened the eyes of the American people, and that's why the Maga movement is so strong. This is a movement, Brian, I've never seen in my lifetime. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it in our lifetime again. The Maga movement's unbreakable. We were talking about Governor DeSantis. They never turn on Trump. They love Trump. They know what kind of president he is. They know he's a businessman. They know he means business. They know he loves America and puts America and its citizens first. And so we need a president like that back in office who will take care of the American people first and foremost in our homeland.
Yeah, but you look at the people running for office now. We'll go down the laundry list of it. You've got Nikki Haley, who is openly advocating continuing a war in Ukraine. That's very unpopular amongst the American people. You've got Chris Christie, a longtime Republican politician, if you will, in New Jersey. I'll give him credit. He was governor in a very Democratic area at one point, so I'll give him credit for winning that election. But for being, I think, what's true and to doing what the American people want to do, he's not there. You've also got Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, Vivek is a unique individual where he is very much like Trump, came out of the private world, a businessman in the tech sector, if I'm not mistaken. He's come out very MAGA. If you were to read a lot of his transcripts on these debates, Vanessa, you would say, wow, that must be something that President Trump said. So if you read it, it sounds very America First and MAGA. But there is something to me, and I'm a fan of his to a certain degree, and I think that there is a place somewhere in the future for Vivek Ramaswamy in the Republican Party and serving this country, not now under this particular leadership or that particular position, but there's just something about him. I think it's the Soros ties back early on when he got his company started. I think that turns a lot of people off, definitely turns myself off. I know that with the vaccines and a mandate, he was very pro-vaccine, very pro-mandate to a certain degree. Now, obviously, everyone backed off of that because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know. So I'm kind of giving him a little bit of a hall pass on that. But so you look at Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Vivek, and then DeSantis. So what does the future of the Republican Party look like if this is who we've got right now that wants to be outside of President Trump, that wants to lead this party in this country? I think it's a very interesting question, because now we should really be looking 4 years from now. What does it look like in 2028 and beyond if President Trump, God willing, was to return to the White House and able to get his policies going? We need someone that's going to continue that. Because if we don't, it's going to go back to the same establishment of the Mitt Romneys and the Bush and the Cheney era of Republicans, and that is why we're in the very position that we're in right now, because we had weak leadership.
Absolutely, and I've always been this type of person, Brian, who always thinks ahead. And yes, we're focusing on 2024. We have to win in 2024, secure our elections, make sure we get a Republican president in office. But what comes after President Trump? I worry about that daily. What is the future of the Republican Party? Where do we go after President Trump? And, we may not have that answer, but he probably has that answer. Because President Trump is a smart businessman. We say it all the time, the reason he's so loved is because he is so smart and intelligent. And then when they're attacking him, he's always 10 steps ahead, right? Like, he knows it's coming. He's always 10 steps ahead. And so I think he's 10 steps ahead in the end game as well. And so I just have faith and hope that after President Trump, he's going to have a plan in place for us. I don't think he's just going to walk out of the White House and just leave us hanging. No.
And then this past week, a lot of speculation on VP pick. And let's just make one thing clear. President Trump is not thinking about a vice president right now. That is not something that he is actively looking at or even wants to think about. He's got his eyes on Iowa. He's got his eyes on this campaign. He's got his eyes on New Hampshire. It's not a VP pick right now. I heard the words Nikki Haley this past week, and I heard a lot of people were like, oh, that'd be great. I think we need to get away from this notion of why in the world would President Trump pick Nikki Haley when he recalls her bird brain over and over again? She is hugely unpopular with the base. It makes no sense. Let me tell you who's telling President Trump to pick Nikki Haley as his VP. The donors, the deep state, people that I would say deep state, but you got to talk about this. There's donors in the Republican Party that would love to be able to have someone like a Nikki Haley to continue once he's done to step in and be in control of this country. So I think VP speculation right now is premature. It's not going to happen. And we'll see probably, I'm thinking later spring, early summer before that happens.
Right. And I think that if you look back to 2016, that then Vice President Mike Pence, he kind of came out of nowhere, and I think that's what's going to be the case in his next VP pick. It's not going to be a name that we see in the news every single day. It's not going to be a DeSantis. It's not going to be a Nikki Haley. It's not going to be a Vivek Ramaswamy. I think it's going to be someone who is not running against him right now. It's going to be someone that maybe is kind of sitting in the background waiting.
Yeah, you know what? Let's be honest
That's
with you.
just my opinion. I don't know.
The VP pick at this point is kind of irrelevant. He could run solo on the ticket and doesn't need a VP. Yeah, doesn't really need a VP pick on that. But we're glad you're joining us, Vanessa Broussard, Brian Glenn. We're live here in Coralville, Iowa, once again. And, of course, we're back here next week, I guess,
yes,
again.
I'll be back next week. My mom told me when I left, she says, why don't you just stay? Because,
why don't we just stay?
Yes, because President Trump will be here today, and then he'll be here again on Tuesday, and I'll be joining you in Waterloo, Iowa on that day.
And it seems like, the 15th is coming up. That is the caucus, and we'll have somebody come in here in a few minutes and tell us, kind of break
January
down
15th.
January 15th, what the caucus involves. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people just moved to Iowa, and they don't know where do I vote. Who's in charge? Or, who's...
I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because I hear a lot of that from people all over the country. At home, when I'm talking to family and friends, they don't know how the election process works, and they don't know that there is a caucus or a primary, depending on what state that you live in. They just think that you go to the polls in November and you vote. That's not the case. You have to caucus, or you have to vote in your state's primary to choose which candidate you want to be on the ballot in November. So it's very important to make sure you caucus in the state that you live in, or you vote in your state's primary. So make sure you get the word out. I have a list of people that I'm texting on the day of Texas is in the March Super Tuesday primary. So I have a list of people that I've told. I'm reminding you because they just don't know. They think that you just go to the polls in November, but we have to make sure we pick our candidate for November.
There you go. We'll talk a little bit more about that and our game day here in Iowa on the 15th. We'll be here the night of the caucus. Might even be here a couple days before to kind of do some broadcasts. Let's take a break. After this break, I want to talk about what happened today on Capitol Hill with Hunter Biden. Before we do that, that October 15th deadline for taxes might have passed, but you know what, Vanessa, do not let that scare you. Our friends over at Tax Network USA want to help you with any tax issues that you have, whether or not you owe $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000. They can help you relieve the anxiety of owing taxes.
Yes, they can help you with all the tax cases that may be concerning you. So if you are concerned about your taxes, you haven't yet filed them, or you're worrying about filing them next year, give them a call. You can call them at the number on your screen. That's 855-225-1040. Or you can also visit their website. That's taxnetworkusa.com/RSBN. All of that information should be on your screen right now. So yes, every year at this time, Brian, it does get a little scary thinking, okay, I have to get all my ducks in a row for the year because I got to get ready for filing taxes. So this is a good time to plan ahead. I know we're thinking about the holidays, but as soon as the holidays are over, you start getting your forms from your company and all your donations in order. And so these people can definitely help you out. So give them a call, and they'll be sure to get you going for your taxes.
There's nothing worse than having anxiety over that.
Yes.
So go check it out. All right. So earlier today, Hunter Biden was scheduled to appear in the Rayburn building there on Capitol Hill to talk to an oversight committee, pretty much a closed-door meeting. Now, this is a meeting that is not televised. It is kind of an off-the-record, if you will, type of meeting, and this is the formal this is the formality of what they do. They have this kind of closed-door interview process. Can last 3, 4, 5. If you're a Trump, it lasts 6, 7, 8 hours, and then goes to a public hearing as well. So you've got two different types of hearing. Well, today was the one that was supposed to schedule to be behind closed doors, and Hunter Biden was a no-show on that. Matter of fact, about an hour and 10 minutes after his scheduled appearance in that Rayburn building, he shows up on the Senate side of our Capitol there and did kind of a pop-up press conference and jumped out of a SUV and went to the microphone and basically said, this has been nothing but a Trump attack on me and my family, and really poured out some personal things of, trying to, that the Maga movement has done nothing but, make fun of his drug addiction and make fun of his private life and spread lies. And I would say, no, we didn't spread lies. We just read the laptop that you left at a repair shop. That's what we did. And then he packed up his stuff and left. And so now it has us all kind of scratching our heads going, okay, now what's next for Hunter Biden? Well, I was just told, as you were today, a little bit earlier, that now we will try to hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress, and that is being initiated right now, and that is something that was issued towards Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro back during the when the Trump witch hunt, if it was, as they went after him every single day. So that's what the latest on Hunter Biden. And let's just be crystal clear on this: the Hunter Biden deal, Vanessa, and Joe Biden, that is two separate topics.
Correct. So there's a lot going on right now, but they are separate. And we were talking earlier, too. I want to go back to Hunter Biden before we jump into the Joe Biden impeachment inquiry. Hunter Biden said today that his father was not financially involved in his dealings. Whereas we were speaking earlier, before they were saying he was not involved at all. So if you pay close attention to his words today at the podium, he did say, my father was not involved in my financial dealings. So the wording's kind of changed a little bit there.
Yeah, and you got to really look at exactly what he said there. And he has repeatedly over and over said that. Joe Biden has said that over and over, that he's had no dealings with his son whatsoever in pertaining to his business. But the bank records, emails, and other documents, well, they don't reflect that. Obviously, there's a mountain of evidence, and because of people, companies, other government agencies dragging their feet. That's why this formal impeachment inquiry is so important, because what that does is it strengthens the subpoena power. It makes the subpoena power even more, I guess, important, if for lack of a better word. So make sure we get some of these people back in to testify in regards to this case. Before, they didn't have enough validity in what they were asking for. But this former impeachment inquiry does just that. I think that's going to pass. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock local time in D.C. is when they're going to start that. Well, it's 6 o'clock local time. So we'll keep an eye on that and make sure in the House floor. I anticipate it's going to pass. If you would have asked me a month ago, it probably wouldn't have passed. But I think we've had some moderate Republicans come around on some of this evidence. So now the chances that this is going to pass are pretty good.
I'm really hopeful for tonight. So, yes, again, we'll keep our eyes out on that. I'm really, two different cases here. But when you go back to Hunter Biden, Brian, him not appearing in closed door today is kind of a slap in the face, not just to the Republicans saying, you do as I say, not as I do. That's what the Biden crime family does. We can get away with anything. They have for years. And so he's basically saying, I'm above the law. I don't have to. And so he leaves the podium and gets back in his vehicle and drives away. Whereas if you look at New York in the last couple of weeks, you had not only President Donald Trump, but you had Don Jr., you had Eric Trump, you had Ivanka Trump. They all showed up, they all appeared, and they testified behind closed doors. Can you imagine what would happen in the media if they didn't show up and they just walked out, did a press conference and said, nope, I don't want to do this today, and I want it to be public. See you later, and drove away.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But if your last name is Biden, you can pretty much do just that. It is a slap in the face to the whole system. And for them to sit there and say that there's no evidence. Look, Jamie Comer has done an amazing job, as well as I'll give Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and everyone on that oversight has done an amazing job accumulating all of this evidence. Now, the Department of Treasury, they went over there, I guess, mid last year and looked at all the SARS reports. That's what's called a suspicious activity report. And what that does is that it's a report that's generated from the banks, and it's set to flag suspicious activity on an account. So if money is coming from somewhere that is deemed to be a risky area, or somewhere that has deemed to have some type of fraud, it's flagged. So those reports were generated, Vanessa, by the bank, not by a political entity here in D.C. It was from the bank. So between the SARS reports and the bank statements from the banks, now the banks are very cooperative during all of this, and they have shown a paper trail of money coming from Chinese and foreign entities into Hunter Biden and into later Joe Biden. Now, Hunter Biden will say that's for a loan. And I gave this example to you yesterday. If I was to pay you $100, and they say, well, Vanessa, why did Brian pay you $100? Well, it was because of a loan. He's just paying me back. Then there should be some type of paper trail, financial paper trail, originally of you giving me $100 at some point. That doesn't exist on this Hunter Biden, Joe Biden transaction history. There is no transaction going back the other way. And of course, if you look at the emails that were obtained from the laptop from hell that Hunter Biden left in the shop, it does reveal, and there's several emails that say, look, there's 10% for the big guy. I've been, he alludes to that several times. So that's not something that we made up. That is something that came from emails off of Hunter Biden's laptop, which, by the way, was deemed to be Russian misinformation before the 2020 election.
Right. We know what he's not getting for Christmas. He's not getting a laptop. And so, all of that was on his laptop. It's clear as day. The documentation's there. The pictures are there with him and all these women and everything.
So what's interesting, I'll stop right there. We haven't even talked about the sexual nature of all of this. Yes. The sex trafficking that he is clearly guilty of in that respects. That is outside of all of this. And to be honest with you, I don't really care about that at that point. It is very concerning, and yes, those women, and we have the addresses and the names of those women that were involved with Hunter Biden. We have that access. We have those names, and we can, if we want to pursue legal actions at a later date, we can do that. I'm more concerned about the financial ties between Joe Biden and foreign governments and foreign companies. That's what I'm concerned about.
Absolutely, but it all ties together. This all shows you, we could go down the list of everything that's been found and everything that has been brought out for the American people to see about how this family is so corrupt, and how, the nickname, the Biden crime family, because that's exactly what they are. And going back to the slap in the face today, you have to obey by the law. I have to obey by the law, but Hunter Biden clearly does not have to. Again, he shows up today, he makes a statement, and he drives away, basically slapping not only the Republicans in the House across the face, but the American people as well. We have to be law-abiding citizens every day, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be a law-abiding citizen. I respect my country. I respect my faith. I respect the 10 Commandments. I respect it all. And so, yes, I am a law-abiding citizen. Hunter Biden does not have to be. And so it's very important that this initiation of the contempt of Congress goes through, because we need to hold him accountable. We do, and that's the first step in doing all of this. And what's even amazing, Vanessa, is that, 6 months ago, when a lot of this talk was happening, we couldn't get Republicans to come on board for subpoenaing, for basically doing an impeachment process. It was Kevin McCarthy at that time went around the rules and did just what the Democrats did to President Trump twice. Didn't hold a vote on it, just went ahead and took it to the floor and said, we're going to go ahead and do an impeachment inquiry. We've come a long way, and I think Republicans, I know people watching us at home want to put, without lack of a better term, points on the board for Republicans. We have seen the Department of Justice, the FBI,
all of the governmental agencies at this point being weaponized against President Trump. They want accountability. And this is a way that we can say we've got accountability for those that have broken the law. And it's time that this happens. I'm glad this happens. And if this does not pass today, it is an absolute. It's horrible.
I'm just going to slam my head against the wall.
I couldn't even. There's not even a word to describe that, because this is the lowest hanging fruit. Well, I thought Mayorkas, to be honest with you, was the lowest hanging fruit for impeachment. But if we can't do that, can we at least get an inquiry? That is basically saying, let's look into the evidence that we have against Joe Biden. 4:30, bottom of the hour here. Thanks for joining us. We are live here in Coralville, Iowa. Let's step away for a second and kind of show what we're looking at. I know we've got a crowd cam.
Starting to fill up. I haven't seen the crowd since we began in 30 minutes. And so, yes, the crowd is starting to fill in. Brian, early this morning, people were lining up outside here in Coralville. It's a cool 25 to 30 degrees outside. So you can see everyone with beanies on. They have jackets on. They have blankets. And so they stood out in the cold. They were troopers. They're here to see President Donald J. Trump. And the seats are full. And it looks like we're already seeing standing room only.
It's interesting because a lot of these people here, Vanessa, I have seen before. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that we see here in Iowa, and a lot of people here we see, quite frankly, from all over the country at these different rallies are here today. It is a Wednesday. It is a work day. I like to say it is a school night, if you will, but it doesn't matter. You and I have both seen the fact that it doesn't matter what day of the week. President Trump is going to pull a crowd. Now, especially going into, we're 30-something days away from the Iowa caucus. I would imagine a lot of people are super excited about that, and that's why they're coming out here to show their support. But simply something that today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, doesn't matter. They're going to show up.
Yes, and we are happy to see all of these smiling faces as we get ready for the January 15th Iowa caucus. We also want to thank one of our sponsors, and I think this is also a great Christmas gift for your loved ones, because this will get you prepared for the next unexpected crisis. The Wellness Company is home to Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Dr. Jim Thorpe, and many more truth-telling doctors who are rooted in their commitment to building a parallel healthcare system and empowering you to take control of your health. In a time when over 40% of Americans say they would avoid a doctor or hospital unless it was a catastrophic situation, the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit provides a solution. This kit includes 8 potential life-saving medications for you to keep on hand in times of need, along with a guidebook detailing instructions for safe use. Get your kit today. A medical emergency kit includes emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics to help keep you and your family safe in the face of natural disasters. So supply yourself by going to makecaregreatagain.com. Grab your medical emergency kit right now. That's makecaregreatagain.com. Use the code RSBN at checkout. Save 15% on your order. Don't wait.
Yeah, I like this thing. And, earlier last week I was kind of battling a couple things, and I thought to myself, if I had this emergency medical kit, now I have an inner ear infections. I don't know if that treats that or not. But nevertheless, it's one of those things that you got to go get. We are live. Vanessa's going to make her way down to the floor there, and we'll see if we can't find some people to talk to. But we're glad you're joining us. Also, yesterday I was there. President Vladimir Zelensky made his plea for additional funding of the war in Ukraine, and met with few House Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican leaders, Senate leaders, in regards to that. Now, this is one of those topics right now that is hugely unpopular with the base, and it's one of those things, topics that we hear a lot on the debate stage. We've heard, obviously, quite a bit at these rallies, and President Trump saying that, well, he can end the war today. Putin would not have invaded Ukraine if he was still in power and had some type of influence on that. It's been nothing but death and destruction for the country of Ukraine, and for Zelensky to continue to plea for money and for D.C. and our government to continue to give continual aid to Ukraine, despite the public sentiment of not doing that, is crazy. Plus, we're $30+ trillion in debt right now, and this is something that we continue to just print money and send over to a war. It is not popular amongst the base, and it's something that is very much, I think, in my opinion, will be something that the voters will react to next November. And if you look at what we send Ukraine already, we send close to $1 billion. It seems like almost a month to these efforts, and it seems like this is not just for the war. We're actually funding pensions, we're funding salaries, we're funding government plans, we're keeping the lights on, if you will, in Ukraine. And if you look around what's going on in our government and some of the problems that we have, and of course the border being one of them, it is disgraceful the way we are printing money and sending over to Ukraine. And really, you've seen some of the corruption of how that money is spent. Now, certain House Republicans have called for a full audit, and they're saying, look, maybe I'm not against sending money to Ukraine, but I at least want to know where it's going and what it's being used on, and to try to minimize the fraud. And we have not, to my knowledge, we have not seen a full report on where that money is going. It's kind of a blanket audit, if you will, of the money just being shot out to certain government agencies in the country of Ukraine, but not on specific things. And I think that's important to make note there, because this war is not popular, and continual funding of a war is something that we should put the brakes on. Now, if we look at what's going on as far as the Israeli conflict they have with Hamas and Palestine, at no point did Israel ask us for funding. It's never been a question. It's never been an issue. And I think that it's nice to point out that at this point in the game, to continually to just fund wars outside of what we have going on right now is not the wise thing to do. I'm going to step aside, show the crowd here. We'll talk about it. The accomplishments of President Trump is something that you won't learn in school. Your kids aren't going to see it on TV, but our friends that have a free trumpbook.com, this thing is absolutely great. And so now it's time to make kids learn about the visions of President Trump. Makes for a great gift. Former Governor Mike Huckabee has put this book together to help you learn all of the things that President Trump did. The Kid's Guide to President Trump available. Go to freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com. Now, every time we do this special, it sells out, so I highly encourage you to go to the website right now, freetrumpbook.com. All right, Vanessa is down below. Looks like with someone here with a rally. Take it away.
Hey, Brian, thank you. Yes, I'm down here on the floor now with all of these wonderful American patriots. They are here ready to caucus in Iowa. We are about a month and 2 days away from the Iowa caucus happening on January 15th. And I want to show you some of these pamphlets that the Trump team is passing out. When you go to these caucus events, the Trump team has tables out. And the first one is a caucus form where you can register as a caucus captain, volunteer to knock on doors, volunteer to make phone calls, or make a donation to the campaign. And so you fill out this form, all of the participants who are here today, and get involved in the caucus for Iowa. Then they hand out these pamphlets, these Trump caucus pamphlets, and when you open it up, it details everything about the Trump team and their initiative here in Iowa. And last but certainly not least, you get these fun little koozies for your cold drinks. And I like this because on the wording on there, it says President Donald J. Trump back-to-back Iowa champ 2016 and 2020. They're hoping for a back-to-back-to-back, a three-peat here in Iowa, winning 2024 as well. But again, yes, we are here on the floor with all of these wonderful patriots. It is standing room only already, and the program has not even started yet. I've met a new friend of mine. Her name is Lisa. Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Love being at these events. Love meeting people like you. Let's talk about where you're from and how long it took for you to get here today.
I'm from Rock Island, Illinois, and it took about an hour and 15 minutes. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Have you seen President Trump before?
Yes, in Davenport about a year and a half ago.
Okay. So let's talk about, you're from Illinois. What are some of the biggest problems you're seeing there?
Really huge prices everywhere. Everything's inflated. I mean, it's hard to even fill up your truck to get gas. It's hard to get groceries. It's hard to pay your bills. You're having nothing at the end of the week. It's ridiculous.
And, you know, we talk about this all of the time. Americans are struggling, and you're hearing just one of millions of stories today about American who's struggling. We are struggling. We're struggling to pay gas. We're struggling to buy groceries. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's very hard. And Bidenomics is not working.
No, it is not. I don't know where they came up with that. It is absolutely ridiculous. They're getting money for the deep state. That's all they want, is they care about the deep state, and they care about all the elites. They do not care about us little people, and President Trump really does. He really cares. He's working for God.
And speaking of God, I like your shirt. It says, normal is not coming back, Jesus is. And you're absolutely right, with a cross around your neck. I love it. Going back to Illinois' blue state, what's the struggle there for Republicans trying to flip some of those counties and even the state?
I think people are just so asleep that people don't want to listen. They don't want to see what's right before their eyes. I actually was having a conversation with my daughter on the way here, and I told her, she's liberal, and she's trying to tell me all these things, and I told her, I said, you know, I'm seeing videos of people just rolling through the borders, and we're paying for all of them. She's like, that's not true. That's propaganda. I saw it with my eyes, you know.
It's absolutely true. I think just last week they had a record-breaking day in one day, how many illegal immigrants, yes, were coming across the border in Texas, 12,000, you're exactly right. And so millions have come across, and they're not just in these border states, they're in Illinois as well. And so how does that concern you, knowing that we don't know who these people are?
It's very scary. You don't know one minute to next. You don't even know going to the supermarket if you're going to be safe, because there could be people there with bombs. You don't know. These people, they're not vetting them. They're just letting them come right across. They're cutting wires for them and letting them in. And that's Border Patrol doing that. It's pretty scary. I mean,
They're ordered to do that. They're trying the best that they can in these states. The states are doing what they can to stomp these illegal immigrants. The federal government is not giving them the help. And in fact, they're being ordered in some of these cases to let them in, which is very sad. They want to protect our country. They want a secure country. But when you have a federal government and an administration that's not giving you the help needed, your hands are kind of tied there at the border fighting for our country. What is it about President Donald J. Trump that you love the most? Is it his energy? Is it there's something about him when he comes out on stage that just is magical. And so I don't want to say he's perfect. The only perfect person that ever walked this earth was Jesus, but he was wonderful in office for 4 years, and he proved that. So what is it about Trump that you love so much?
Number one, he's a godly man. He's working for God, for darn sure. Number two, he really cares about us. He cares about us. He cares about what happens to us. He cares about our country. He didn't come in there because he wanted the money. He's got money. He's coming there because he is actually working for God, and he wants to help us, and he wants to get us to he wants to make America great again. And I it's true, but I think he's going to make it even greater, because I don't think, no matter what they try to do to stop him, he's going to come back, because he's working for God, and God's on his side.
Absolutely he is. God first, America first, and in God we trust.
Absolutely. Amen.
Well, Miss Lisa, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for your fight. Continue to fight. Thanks for being here and making the drive, and safe travels home. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you. All right. Yes, you're welcome. All right. So, yes, the crowd is packing in. You can see behind me, again, standing room only. People with their Make America Great Again hats and the gear, and they're just happy. They're smiling, ready to see the president. All right. We're going to toss it back over to Brian Glenn right now. Brian.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Big crowd behind us. I've got Bobby Kaufman. He is a state rep here in Iowa, and this is your district. It's about 10 miles north of here. This used to kind of be your area as well. Let's talk a little bit about what a caucus is. A lot of people might have just moved to Iowa. They have no idea. Perhaps they've never been politically involved due to whatever reason. Now they want to get involved. So explain to us the definition of a caucus and how people get involved with that.
So it does come off as kind of an intimidating situation. Like, what's this mean? What does it involve? It's not that much different than voting, but it's a little bit different than voting. So instead of going to a booth, you are going to go to a location where all the different candidates are going to have a surrogate speaking on their behalf, making their case. So, hey, here's why I'm for this person. Then you pass out a ballot, you vote for your preferred candidate, and you actually see the results before you leave. So in 1 hour, you hear from all the candidates, you vote, and you get the results.
How many people generally are in a caucus? I've heard it be in schools, people's backyards, their garage, churches. How does that work?
Typically it's in a school or a church, but it can be in any location, a building just like this, where you can have a big enough room for folks to fit in, exchange conversations, and then vote. So schools, all the different places with community centers, places like this, hotels, churches, any place that could hold people can be a caucus site.
Okay, what's interesting, Bobby, is people can hash it out right there. So if you've got somebody that thinks that another candidate is the best person, you can then have this open dialogue and this debate, if you will, of facts and exchange some ideas. I think that's important to point out here, because you want to make sure there might be people that show up to a caucus that are undecided. So your team captain has to be somebody that can really convey the message across.
That's exactly right. We specifically pick people to be precinct captains that are well respected, that have large networks of family and friends, because they're credible with those folks. And some folks do show up undecided or show up with their mind made up but can get it changed. And so you want someone strong and knowledgeable with a good reputation to be speaking on your candidate's behalf so that as many people as possible vote for you.
Okay, so right now, President Trump has almost an historical lead here in Iowa this many days to the next caucus. What is the pulse? What are you seeing out there? What are you hearing from people, not only in your district, but across the state?
Raw excitement, and that's mimicked in the polls. You look at other candidates like Ron DeSantis got the big splashy endorsements. Since those big endorsements, he's went up 1 point, we went up 8. So people realize and see and remember what President Trump did for them, and they're seeing what he will do for them in comparison to the last 3 years. And I think that's why you're seeing us dominate every poll, whether it's primary, whether it's caucus, whether it's general. No matter what, he's dominating. I think that's the reason.
What are some of the topics that people are concerned about? The border, the economy, what are you hearing?
The border, the economy. Here in Iowa, we're obviously very biased. Farming. President Trump delivered for us. He made sure that we had competitive markets across the nation, competitive markets across the world, but also just common sense. I know that's a little too simplistic, but I really mean that. Men do not belong in women's sports. We don't kneel for the anthem. We stand for the anthem. Little things like that matter to people. They remember that President Trump stood up for that.
Isn't it amazing? And he says this during his speech, that we have to even say we've got to keep men out of women's sports. 20 years ago, I mean, think about when we grew up. If someone would have even suggested that idea, they would have been bum rushed out of the room and said, what are you talking about? Get out of here. Now it's something that there's actually how Republicans are Democrats, to say, are defending the notion of men participating in women's sports.
Not only that, in Iowa here, they're trying to tell us there's 20 different genders. There's 2 genders, male and female. And that's common sense. But when you put Democrats in charge of things, this is what happens.
Yeah, and the farmers, you talked about it earlier, President Trump has given so many billions of dollars, I'm not mistaken, to farmers across the country and specifically here in Iowa. So farming, very much a big issue there. Let's talk about crime, law and order for a second. Obviously, you've got the privilege of not having the big mega cities in Iowa, New York, or Chicago, L.A., but there is crime, obviously, in every city. President Trump's agenda to really lock down on law and order and protect the men and women that serve our communities is important, and I have got to imagine that if you live in Iowa, that is still something that you hold up as far as a priority of what you want in a president.
Oh, absolutely. Fentanyl doesn't just exist in big cities. Fentanyl exists in rural Iowa. Fentanyl exists in small town Iowa. And the amount of fentanyl in this country could kill everyone 10 times over. So the president's border policies, his tough on crime policies, they resonate right here in Iowa just as much as any place else.
Okay, so let's talk about you, state rep here. How's it been work? I mean, what has been some of your platform you've helped on? What's some of your agenda that you've helped promote rather in this state?
Taking the president's lead, making sure that we're putting money back into the taxpayers' hands, making sure that we're going after wokeness in schools, making sure that we're stopping indoctrination of our kids. We are mimicking the president's agenda here in Iowa.
Okay, so let's go ahead and recap. January 15th, 7 p.m. right here in Iowa is the caucus. If someone needs to know exactly where their caucus location is at, what's the best resource for that?
Very simple, DonaldJTrump.com.
There you go, simple as that. Thank you very much. Bobby Cockman, state rep here in Iowa, is going to make his way down. I'll go ahead and toss it over to Vanessa, who is with another...
Still on the ground here with all the people. It's getting packed here inside of this ballroom. Great to see all the people who love President Trump. If you want to keep up with the daily news, what's going on in the political world in Washington, D.C., make sure you sign up for our newsletter. Go to rsbnetwork.com. Click on newsletter, join, and that way you'll get the emails sent straight to you, and you can stay in the loop of what's going on around the country from RSBN. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We talk about it all the time. The younger generation is the future of America. I have met Joey, who is a ball of energy, full of personality. He is a college student at the University of Iowa from Illinois. So let's talk about the college life. You're 20 years old. You're here at this Commit to Caucus event. This is like wonderful to see because we need the younger generation to get out and vote.
Certainly, yeah. So I just transferred to Iowa. It's been a whole new life-changing experience because I went to Illinois State before this, and it was definitely definitely more of a restriction on rules and your freedom in a sense. I remember they made us wear masks, and I remember during that same semester I visited Iowa, and it was just, you felt free in a sense, it felt totally different, and I really was like, I'd rather put my money towards this school than give my money to Illinois State, because it's like, obviously it's not jail, but it's like you're very restricted. Yeah,
yes,
you're very
absolutely.
restricted. But when I visited here, because my brother went here, it was like going to a whole new country. It was different, and the people were different, more friendlier.
And there's a lot of MAGA people, MAGA students. Let's talk about that. So you were telling me earlier that there's a lot of people who support President Trump here at the University of Iowa.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Almost everyone here supports Trump at University of Iowa. Yeah, every group you meet, everyone loves Trump. Like I said, at Illinois State, that's different. Everyone was more uptight, and then when I went here, it was more. Everyone was nicer, happier. Before I even knew, like, it was a
more conservative.
Yeah, before I even knew that, right? And that's what made me like, these people are really nice. They're loose. They're more open, right? They're open to your opinions, and that's what really made me make the switch here, because it was I felt free.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. That's important. We're a free country, so we should be free on university campuses as well. Let's talk about the importance of why you're here, and for the younger generation, the people your age, to get out and vote.
The importance of why I'm in college?
No, why you're here at this event.
Because because corruption, in a sense. I think that most career politicians are corrupt, and Trump is our last hope in a sense of a non-career politician that's only doing it for their personal benefits, in a sense, And
how important is it for people your age to get out and vote and get involved?
I think here's the thing. A lot of people my age, they all love Trump. Everyone. Even from Illinois, I think that's, people don't understand, like, they say, Illinois is more of a Democratic state. Obviously, in the younger generation, that's incorrect. There's a lot of Republicans in the younger generation, but they don't vote. And I think it's very important for them to vote, but they all support him. But they need to vote more.
Be like Joey and get out and vote. If you're a college student, get out and vote, because it's very important, because you're next in line, and what happens in the next 4 years is going to affect you. What's happening right now affects you. Gas prices, I'm sure you're paying a lot to get here today. So yes, Joey, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. All right, so again, standing room only here on the floor in this ballroom in Coralville, Iowa. We're having a great time meeting so many wonderful American patriots. They're all here hoping for a better America, to get rid of the Biden administration, and then bring in President Trump. They're all here as Maga supporters, and they're happy, they're smiling, just like you see at all of the Maga Trump events, Brian.
Yes, we are live here at just the top of the hour. We'll take a quick break, but kind of recap some of the leading stories today. Earlier, Hunter Biden showed up on Capitol Hill, but not for the hearing that it was intended for him in the Rayburn building, but rather to hold a press conference of his own on the Senate side of the Capitol Hill, and basically said he was being attacked by Trump and the MAGA movement for spreading lies about him and his family. Now, from what I understand earlier, contempt to Congress will be filed on Hunter Biden, and he'll have to proceed through there as well. And I'm trying to get news. I saw something posted on X, and I'm trying to confirm it, that already a vote was yes by House Republicans to formally do the impeachment inquiry. I'm trying to get confirmation on that. I have not seen that come through, but I did see a post from someone that said it was confirmed. I'm waiting to confirm that before I release that here. But it's definitely something that we want to bring up. I'll bring Vanessa as we close out the hour here. It's interesting because it has been a very active news day, and a lot of stuff that President Trump obviously can talk about on stage here tonight. But a lot of things that he does talk about is the weaponization of this government towards President Trump.
Yes, and he says it all the time. They're not after me, they're after you. He's just standing in the way, and that's a fact. So in order to get to you, they have to go through him, and he's standing firm. He says, I will not back down. I will not step aside. I will not yield. And so they are attacking him any which way that they can. And the American people are waking up to that. And Brian, the guy I just interviewed, Joey, a college student, 20 years old, talking about the importance of college kids to get out and vote. He was saying right here at the University of Iowa, there are so many Trump supporters. He says you'll go into a restaurant and people are wearing MAGA hats. They're college kids. And he said they just don't vote. And it's so important to get out and vote. He says they all love Trump.
Yeah.
They just don't know to get out and vote. And so if you're at home and you have a college kid, make sure you tell them, whatever state you're in, whether to caucus or whether you're in a primary state, you vote in a primary, make sure they get out and vote.
Yeah, because the Democrats absolutely will make sure that these young people, and they know that that 18 to 22, 23 demo is vital for the left. A lot of their platform is based on these social issues, the free college and the loan repayment, things that really resonate with someone in college. Of course, all of the I call them social justice warriors on the internet. They're one issue voters is what it is. They don't necessarily look at the bigger picture in the world. They look at these very single line item issues, and that's what gets them in the poll. Now, to Republicans' credit, I mean, people like Charlie Kirk has done a wonderful thing at Turning Point USA of getting people out and rallied together, but that's what it's going to take. And I'll say this, I just recently had the honor to kind of look at a lot of our seniors and go to a few events where everyone was 65 plus. Right. And that our seniors are so upset at what's going on in our country right now. Matter of fact, upset's not even the word. They're pissed off at what's going on to our country. So that is another demo, a segment of voters I really think will show up in this next election. So either you're 65 or you're 18. I think you're going to see a large percentage of voters going to the poll.
And moms as well. I think moms are going to help save this country. Moms are not happy right now, all the mama bears out there, of what they're doing to our kids in schools. We'll talk about that here in a little bit more on the broadcast. But the mama bears are out in full force. One of the largest organizations just endorsed Trump. So that was great to see there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here live from Coralville, Iowa. I'm Vanessa Broussard with Brian Glenn.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created the Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring The Kid's Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
I'm excited to announce that we're bringing back our best offer ever on our original My Slippers. You save $90 a pair with your promo code. And now My Slippers come in even more sizes. Smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new styles and colors. Get them for your friends, your family, your neighbors, everyone you know. What makes My Slippers different is my exclusive 4-layer design that you're not going to find in any other slippers. My Slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help relieve stress on your feet. I'm so confident that you and everyone you know are going to love My Slippers that I'm extending my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2024, making them the best Christmas gifts ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen now. Use your promo code to save $90. That's only $49.98 a pair. Quantities won't last long, so please order now.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Right Side Broadcasting is known for panning the crowds, showing the packed arenas, and allowing you to see the truth. We've covered hundreds of rallies, briefings, marches, CPAC, and the historic overturning of Roe v. Wade. Right Side Broadcasting was created in 2015 by our founder, Joe Seals, creating a unique broadcasting experience that allows you to make your own decision rather than force-feeding you an agenda. We don't cut or edit people's words or twist them to fit a particular point of view. We allow our correspondents to be open about their opinions while maintaining journalistic integrity. Right Side Broadcasting wants to continue our legacy with help from people just like you. Your donations and support allow us to continue to be the gold standard in live, unedited event coverage. Help our cause by sharing our broadcasts, subscribing on our social media platforms, and supporting us on our locals community. Your monthly or one-time contributions on our website are crucial in our fight for the truth. Thank you for all of your generous support.
Former and future President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. I will begin in a moment to lead us all in prayer, but for just a moment, I will speak to you as a pastor, to a nation in decline, and to a nation on the brink of calamitous ruin. We have witnessed a sitting president weaponize the entire legal system to try and steal an election and imprison his leading opponent, Donald Trump, despite committing no crime. The corruption in Washington is a natural reflection of the spiritual state of our nation. In order to make America great again, I believe we must do two things. We must become godly again, submitting ourselves to the scepter of the Most High King, the Lord Jesus Christ. And we must re-elect President Trump for the third time. But this time he will have his seat in the Oval Office. Because we, as a magnificent and glorious state of Iowa, will declare Donald Trump our presidential nominee at the Iowa Caucus on January 15th at 7 p.m. I'd like to start us off with a reading from the Word of God. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14 through 15 states, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers offered in this place. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 through 12 states, "Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present age, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." We must not lose sight that this election is part of a spiritual battle. There are demonic forces at play. But I want to remind those who have fallen prey to the leadership of such demons, have fallen prey to the diabolic forces, and have become pawns to their schemes. Romans chapter 13, verse 1 through 4. This is the warning. "Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves, and judgment is coming. Amen. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear and fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid. For rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants against the wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. And when Donald Trump becomes the 47th president of the United States, there will be retribution against all those who have promoted evil in this country. I'm now going to ask you to remove your hats, bow your heads, and close your eyes for a quick word in prayer. Dear good and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you in the name of your one and only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and in the power of your Holy Spirit. We ask you, Holy Spirit, to move upon this rally to protect our future president, Donald J. Trump, and his future administration and this campaign. Cover it with your anointing and your power. Lead us back to godliness and righteousness as a nation. God, I pray that, Lord, you would help us to re-elect President Donald Trump and restore America to its greatness. Lord, we ask you, as we come to repentance, to the cross, and acknowledge our transgressions, come fill us up once again with the power of your Spirit. Fill this nation up and help us to help Donald Trump get reelected. Lord, help us to make America great again. In Jesus' name, hallelujah. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless our future president, Donald J. Trump. Let's make America great again.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage GOP Chairwoman Teresa Baumgartner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, welcome to Johnson County, Iowa and Coralville. It's a great day to caucus for President Trump. Now let's play honor to our country and to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God save the republic.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Trump Caucus Captain Janice Woner to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Afghanistan veteran and former executive director of Concerned Veterans for America, Mark Lucas.
Well, good afternoon. It's an honor for me as a combat veteran to share my experience working with President Donald Trump. During my military career in the Iowa Army National Guard, I served under 4 presidents. President Trump was by far and away the greatest commander-in-chief I had the privilege to serve under. In fact, I believe that historians will rank Donald Trump among the greatest and most consequential presidents in American history. As an Army officer, I voluntarily deployed to South Korea at the height of the crisis with Kim Jong-un. It appeared we were facing a catastrophic war. I worked as a planning officer attached to the 2nd Infantry Division. We planned for the unthinkable, for North Korea to deploy nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. The planning process was sobering. Every day I reported to duty in an underground bunker. Our staff located and counted the number of bridges we would encounter during the invasion. We planned helicopter landing zones to secure nuclear sites. I could literally see the faces of North Korean soldiers on high-resolution imagery. During a major exercise, and by God's grace, I was able to brief a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on our plan. It felt like we were destined for war. Meanwhile, back in D.C., the establishment encouraged President Trump to follow the same failed strategy that had plagued the Korean Peninsula for decades. These advocates were military generals who had never won a war and think tank policy wonks who never worked in a real job. This is when President Donald Trump, the businessman and disruptor, became a peacemaker. He challenged the status quo and brought his unmatched negotiation skills to the White House. He was unorthodox. He took risks, and it paid off. President Trump agreed to a historic meeting which gave Kim Jong-un a win, making him the first North Korean leader to meet with a sitting U.S. president. In exchange, President Trump, the United States, and the world received a win when we secured an agreement for denuclearization. The South Korean president at the time President Moon Jae-in, said that Donald Trump deserved to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Donald Trump, a man known for deal-making in New York City, proved he could broker a peace deal on the world stage. When I was the executive director for Concerned Veterans for America, I saw firsthand President Trump's dedication to our nation's heroes. The Department of Veterans Affairs long had a reputation of providing inadequate health care to our nation's vets. During the 2016 campaign, Trump outlined a 10-point plan to reform the VA. The VA had become a union-run bureaucracy that cared more about self-preservation than care for our vets. The VA was caught having secret wait lists. They falsified records. VA whistleblowers faced retaliation. Conditions became so bad, the VA Inspector General said that veterans faced imminent danger when going to a VA hospital. In Trump's first 100 days as president, he made it abundantly clear veterans were a major priority, and he was in a hurry. In less than 6 months since he was sworn into office, President Trump signed the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. This would allow us to fire bad VA employees, especially those who allowed vets to die on secret wait lists. The next summer, he signed the VA Mission Act, which provided vets choice in their health care. These reforms brought the VA to the 21st century and likely saved thousands of lives. President Trump kept his promise to our nation's heroes, and for that I say thank you, President Trump. Many of you remember I founded the Iowa chapter of Americans for Prosperity. It was a privilege for me to build AFP Iowa into the highest performing chapter in the country. Unsurprisingly, AFP endorsed somebody other than President Trump. Respectfully, anybody not supporting Trump is just delaying the inevitable. I typically love primaries because I believe they build stronger candidates, and I'm one of the biggest champions of our beloved Iowa caucus. But this primary is done. Since I left AFP, I stepped away from politics. I went into private life, focusing on growing my family and building businesses. But this election, the stakes are just too high for me to stand on the sideline. President Joe Biden and his Democrat allies are weaponizing our government against a former president. Radical Democrats in Congress impeached him twice. Partisan prosecutors have indicted him 4 times. Marxist judges have illegally gagged him twice. The New York Attorney General is trying to bankrupt his family business. These rabid partisan prosecutors have President Trump facing up to 700 years in prison. And they are even trying to illegally remove him off of the ballot so that Joe Biden wins by default. These are republic-ending tactics. Donald Trump is willing to risk his life to save our country. He could suspend his campaign today, and all of these phony charges would go away. He could retire a wealthy and a happy man in Mar-a-Lago, but instead he risks his fortune, his freedom, everything for a greater cause. He is doing it for us. I'm very grateful that Donald Trump is fighting for us, because I believe that Donald Trump is uniquely built for this moment in American history. So please join me in January in caucusing for Donald Trump, and let's deliver President Trump a historic Iowa caucus victory. Thank you.
Making America great again starts one place on earth, and one place only, right here in Iowa. Monday, January 15th, 7 p.m. Be there, because it's caucus night.
Now you may say to yourself, I've never been to a caucus. How does it work? You've come to the right place.
For the next 2 minutes, Marlon's going to tell you everything you need to know about how to successfully caucus for President Trump.
Caucusing is super easy. Before we get going, let's make sure you are eligible to caucus. Time to check with the lawyers. For that, here's Margot from the law firm of Dewey and Chittister.
To vote at a caucus, you must be at least 18 years old. But here's the kicker. That's 18 by November 5th of 2024, Election Day.
Okay, so now you know you're eligible to vote in the Iowa caucus. Woohoo! How simple is it to caucus? As simple as this. Wait, that's the wrong one. As simple as this. 3 easy steps. Step 1, make sure you're eligible. Done. Okay, step 2, do you know where your caucus location is? Now be careful, the correct answer isn't
over his 4 years, and quite honestly, your kids aren't going to learn about it on social media, and they're sure not going to learn about it in school. But there's a great book, freetrumpbook.com. freetrumpbook.com is a great resource to makes a great gift this holiday season. Go to freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com. Now, I would do it right now, because every time we do offer this book, they sell out. freetrumpbook.com. Also, we want to thank our friends over at the Birch Gold Group, and right now there's so many opportunities to take advantage of some specials that they have right now through December 22nd. For every $5,000 you spend with Birch Gold, they're going to send you a 1-ounce silver eagle coin for free. Simply text the words Trump to 989898. That's Trump to 989898. Now you can purchase gold and silver and have it shipped directly to your home, or you can simply have Birch Gold specialists help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax shelter's IRA in gold. That's the Birch Gold Group. Text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Now back to the program.
Alex Meyer.
Stay on your feet. Come on, get up on your feet. We've got some great panelists coming up here. We got some hats coming out. All right, let me go ahead and introduce State Representative Bobby Kaufman. Y'all are not nearly loud enough. Come on, we got to get excited. What are we doing here? All right, let's give it up for Trump Caucus Captain Macy Arges. All right, we've got another Trump Caucus Captain, Melinda Whelan. All right, we have another Trump Caucus Captain, Mike Bixler. All right, go ahead and take your guys' seats. Thank you so much.
All right, so some of you may or may not be familiar. So we are doing things a little bit different at this event. And so we are hosting a panel where we want to talk about who are Trump caucus captains, the caucus coming up, a little bit of panelists from folks who are caucusing from all different walks of the caucus system. And so obviously, so my name's Alex Meyer. I'll be the panelist. I'll be the moderator for this. And so we typically start these things. I want to start this thing a little bit differently than we normally do, but really quick, can I get a raise of hands? Are you a Trump, if you are a Trump caucus captain, already trained, please raise your hand. Woo! Everyone give it up for them. And so now I'll be asking most of the questions, but Bobby Kaufman, our state representative, he insisted that he asked a couple of questions from you. So I'll just go ahead and turn over to Bobby.
I do have a couple questions for you. Who here is ready to see Donald J. Trump today? You can do better than that. Who's ready to send Donald J. Trump back to the White House? And finally, let me hear you loud and clear if you're going to help Donald J. Trump kick ass on January 15th. Now, a much more serious question. Raise your hand if this caucus will be your first. That is absolutely incredible. That is an expansion of the electorate that only President Trump can do. Thank you very much.
Wow, that is an incredible number of hands that went up. So I'm really going to urge everyone to please pay attention, because this sounds like it's going to be even more important with all of these first-time caucus goers around here. There's a lot of excited folks, too. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to kick it off. I am going to start with Melinda. Melinda, what is it like to be a county caucus chair? You're a county caucus chair, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so my husband and I are the co-chairs for Johnson County, and we have 64 precincts. We had some redistricting, so we have more than we've ever had before, and we need chairs for everyone. Basically, you're running a meeting. We provide you all the training. It takes about an hour. You can come to more than one training if you like. We provide you with an agenda and a step-by-step booklet. And right now we need over 1 billion, 300 million, trillion, 300 million chairs. So I just wanted you to know that we still need a few, but we're doing great.
I counted at least 1,000 in the crowd here.
Right. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was Biden from yesterday. You just never know what he's going to say. That's how much he's going to invest in America's infrastructure. So anyway, we need more people to show up. You can't stay home because you think it's just going to happen. It's not going to happen without us showing up. We are working really hard to make sure everybody is trained. It's very simple. You are running a meeting. We provide you with everything you need. You don't have to provide anything. You show up to training, you get your information, we give you a packet, and that's all there is to it. It couldn't be any simpler.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So Macy, so you are a senior at the University of Iowa, is that correct?
Yep, I am.
Let's go Hawkeyes. I think we might have a special Hawkeye speaking a little bit later. But so you are a senior at the University of Iowa, and you are a Trump caucus captain amongst many other things. So what is it like? I mean, obviously, there's I see a lot of, young faces, old faces. Younger looking faces. I see a lot of faces in the crowd. So what is it like? I know a lot of people are asking, what is it like to recruit for President Trump on college campuses?
Yeah, so I feel like I do a ton of recruiting, but I feel like I could do even more because there's so many young people out there, which I love. I am part of College Republicans as well as Turning Point USA. We have about 100 members, but we're looking for more. So right there, I already have a great pool of people I want to recruit. I simply just ask them, hey, are you a Trump supporter? 9 times out of 10, they are. And then I just move them, give their contact information over to Rachel, which is one of the Trump staffers. And also Melinda, I've been helping out getting her precincts filled. So great there, but I just want to share with you young people, it is so simple to get involved, right? You just have to talk at the caucus why you support Trump. I feel like we all can do that. It's pretty simple to do that. And then also just bring 10 of your friends, right? You should have 10 Trump friends, and if you don't, what are you doing? Who are you friends with, right? So very simple there, and I encourage you all to get out.
That's awesome. Thank you, Macy. No, and I just kind of wanted to put another point on that, what's so important, right? So as a Trump Caucus captain, and as you guys probably seen throughout here, there are the white hats that say Trump Caucus captain on that. So a Trump, oh, there's one right there. I see them all over the place. It's awesome. So if they have that hat, if you are a Trump Caucus captain, that means that you went to a quick half-hour, 45-minute quick training session that we are doing here on the Trump campaign to make sure that we have one individual at every single precinct all across the state, because it is so important. This election is so important. I know we say this every single year, but we really mean it, obviously, this time. But we need to make sure that we have someone at every single precinct representing President Trump, making sure that they are watching everything that's going on, that they're speaking on behalf of the president, but most importantly, that they are bringing 10 for Trump, right? And so what does that mean? So we will give you a list of 25, and we'll give you a list of 100 if you need it. I mean, we'll give you as many as you need of folks within your precinct to make sure that you are bringing them to caucus. And so it actually, I want to jump to Mike really quick. So Mike, you are in a little bit of a smaller precinct, right? And so why is it so, I mean, 10 for Trump in a small precinct, I mean, what does that do?
Well, you know, at my precinct, we could maybe only get 15 to 20 at our precinct. And if the weather's bad that night and people stay home, 10 people could be big. So you need to bring 10 people or more and get out in the weather, give up 30 minutes of that night in caucus for President Trump.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. And so I'm going to go back to you, Representative. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of us here who support President Trump, but, you know, what do you miss the most about the Trump presidency?
I'm going to pose the question to the audience yet again. Who here misses simple common sense? Who here misses the common sense that President Trump exudes? That, for instance, there's two genders. There's male and female, period. It's sir or ma'am. I miss common sense like, if you're a male, stay the hell out of female sports. That's what I miss.
It's always so hard to go right after Bobby. It's a tough job for all of us. But I'm going to go back to you, Melinda. So you said you are a county chair, a county caucus chair, but you are also a Trump caucus captain. So, you know, what is it like to be a Trump caucus captain? Obviously, you've gone through the training, but just kind of give us a little bit more, you know, from your perspective of why being a Trump caucus captain is so important.
Okay, so I spoke for President Trump in 2016 because I saw that he was punching back. For the first time ever, I saw a politician that went up there and said, America first. Americans first. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I'm tired of everybody else being first and us being last. So we've been on the Trump train since 2015, and we are both captains. We've both been to the training, which is very easy. It's not a difficult thing. It's a little tiny bit of your time. It's so important. If you can't, if you think that it's too much work, don't. President Trump is out there. He's working hard for us every day, and we need to show up. We need to be there. We need to be captains. We need to speak on his behalf. We need to be his spokespeople. We need to be there for him. He's here for us. Look at how much this man works for us. He's not getting anything but our support. I told somebody said, why do you go to the rallies? I said, listen here. We don't worship President Trump, we worship God. But we have to show our support. We have got to show him. We have got to speak up. When it's time for us to speak up on caucus night, we have got to be there. We got to have captains there. We have to have people vote. It's so important that you do that. There is no other chance. The world is on fire. We have got to be there. Show up. Don't stay home.
And bring your 10 for Trump.
Drag everybody you know.
So Macy, really quickly, we're about to run out of time here, but so you obviously, you know, you're a college student, you go to University of Iowa, but the caucus isn't while you're in semester. So how are you doing that, right? How is this going to work?
I feel like, sorry, what was that again? sorry.
So where are you going to be caucusing?
Oh, I'm going to be caucusing in Iowa City because that's where we need it most. I'm going to be the Trump Caucus Captain Chair for there, as well as being secretary for my precinct. So I'm going to come 2 days earlier. Melinda and I were saying we are probably going to wake up at 5 a.m. On caucus day, and I'll be right in Iowa City. So all of you come back, students. You're not going to show up the day of class. Get there early. It's going to take an hour of your time. Show up and vote for President Trump.
Mike, final question. Why should we get out and caucus for President Trump?
Why should we get out? Well, President Trump will make America great again. But before he does, we need to take America back again. And this is where you come in. You run for your school board, you run for your Sunday school board, you run for church council, and you get out and you vote, you come and you give him 30 minutes so he can make America great again.
Thank you. All right, let's get back up on your feet one more time. I know President Trump is on his way. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, let's do a selfie here. Get in there, there's like the sunshine.
Program with a nice little panel, a breakout panel. We appreciate you joining us. We're live here in Coralville, Iowa, awaiting President Trump, scheduled to take the stage at 6 p.m. here local time. Before we get into some of the breaking news that we had today, I do want to talk about this emergency medical kit. This is amazing. We've talked about Dr. Peter McAuliffe has developed a kit that's designed for a lot of stuff that could happen to you and your family. Simply go to makecaregreatagain.com. That's makecaregreatagain.com. Put the promo code RSBN at checkout and save. Be prepared. Keep this kid at home. Keep this kid at the office. Keep this kid in your car. Make care great again.
It's definitely a great kit to have if there is another crisis like we've seen in the past with COVID. So make sure you and your family are prepared. Visit that website on your screen and get that kit today. Now back to the program.
Let's go.
I'm home. It's good to see so many friends. You know, the good news is Donald J. Trump is driving here from the airport right now. He will be here any minute. You know, and I just want to encourage everyone to sign up to be a caucus captain. If you want to help, that's how you can help, is sign up as a caucus captain. But there's so many other ways that you can help as we head to January 15th at 7 p.m. One way is to recruit more friends, to volunteer, to be a caucus captain if you're already a caucus captain. You can do voter contact. You can go to one of our headquarters. You can make phone calls. You can reach out to your family. You know, Christmas is right around the corner here, and I want to say to everybody, Merry Christmas. Because Donald J. Trump allowed us to say that again, didn't he, when he became president? No more happy holidays. We say Happy Hanukkah. We say Merry Christmas. You can help register voters. You can volunteer to be a caucus volunteer and help with signing up voters and registering folks and doing all the work and important work of the party. You can join one of the coalitions. You can be a farmer for Trump. You can be a mom for Trump. You can be a veteran for Trump. You can be a faith leader for Trump, or you can be anything as long as you're supporting Donald J. Trump for President of the United States. You can put up a yard sign. You can put one of these placards in your window of your house or your apartment or your condo or your lake home, wherever anybody can see that you are supporting Donald Trump for president. You could come next Tuesday to Waterloo for a similar event to this and bring a friend who's never experienced this fun that we have at these Trump Commitment to Caucus events. And most importantly, when you're there on caucus night after you vote for Donald J. Trump on your ballot, you can volunteer to be a delegate to the county convention, to the district convention, become a delegate ultimately to state convention, or even the national convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Because when I was 18 years old, in fact, I was 17 and a half years old, a senior in high school in Ankeny, Iowa, I went to my first caucus. And I not only voted for my candidate, unfortunately, Donald Trump wasn't running for the president in 1988. Would have been a much better country if he had. But I got elected to be a county delegate. And it really started my experience in this great thing we call the Iowa caucuses. So I want to encourage everyone in this room to do more than you've ever done. Donald Trump is doing everything he possibly can to win the presidency, but he can't do it without your help. And don't believe these polls. There is no doubt we are up. There is no doubt that Donald Trump is going to win Iowa. The record in Iowa is 12 points, approximately, a margin of victory. We need to beat that. We need Donald Trump to set the record for the biggest win in Iowa history. But that only happens if you, my hearty Iowa friends, don't look at the temperature on January 15th. You just show up at 7 p.m. and you vote Donald J. Trump for President of the United States. So it is so good to be here in the land of the Hawkeyes. I see a lot of my black and gold wearing friends here. It's almost as prevalent as the Maga red. But you know what? It is up to us. It is up to Iowans to start the ball rolling down the hill. That in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Donald J. Trump will be the nominee of the Republican Party, and in November of 2024, he will be elected President of the United States. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Donald Trump is minutes away. I have the great honor to introduce a very close friend of mine, someone that I've known for probably longer than either one of us wants to admit. But, you know, I know her as Brenna. You know her as the Attorney General of Iowa. Most importantly, we all know that she is fighting for us against Joe Biden's runaway federal government. She's fighting against violent crime. She's trying to stop this illegal fentanyl. She's fighting against these terrible border policies of the Biden administration. She is fighting for Iowans. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Attorney General of this great state of Iowa, Brenna Bird.
Fired up, aren't you? Yeah, just like I am. You're ready to fire Joe Biden and get President Trump back in the White House. Yes. Well, you know, Matt Whitaker, what a great U.S. Attorney General. And I just realized something when he was giving his speech. We went to our first caucus the same year, 1988. I was 12. So I'm going to tell you a few things about how to caucus and why it's important. But first of all, let me just say this, a great big thank you deep from within my heart. Because as I look out here, I can tell President Trump has all the best supporters. And I see people who helped us defeat the longest serving Attorney General in Iowa in U.S. history. Thank you. I'm here in a room full of hard-working freedom fighters, real patriots, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your dedication. You know, we're just a month out. Is now the time to let off the gas and go on easy street? No way. No way. We are going to work hard all the way. And we know that the radical left will stop at absolutely nothing to target President Trump. They've been after him since day one, haven't they? But we see right through it, and we are fighting back. It's never been more important for us to go out and caucus. Now, you just heard about a big poll that was great news, a historic caucus lead for President Trump. You remember that one? We've never seen a lead that big in Iowa Republican caucus history. Never. Unprecedented, historic. But are we just going to sit back and realize that we're headed to victory, we're headed to President Trump back in the White House and just take it easy? No way. We know that it takes work. We know that we're going to do what it takes. We're going to win Iowa big for President Trump, aren't we? You know, they say Iowa is where it starts. Maybe this year Iowa is where it all ends, if you know what I mean. The end of the Biden administration. I'll tell you what, as Attorney General, it's my job to enforce your laws and Constitution. I sure have been having to sue the Biden administration an awful lot. You know, whether it comes to an ATF that's out of control and going after law-abiding firearms owners, or, you know, what they're trying to do to pork producers, fighting crime, fighting everything that is wrong with the Biden administration, like the student debt cancellation. We took that one all the way to the Supreme Court and won, didn't we? We're fighting back against waters of the U.S. where the EPA wants to tell farmers how to farm. Tell you what, as somebody who was born and raised on a farm, not on my watch, not on my watch. You know, the truth is, though, the number of times that I should have to sue a presidential administration, that should be zero, right? Yeah, they should just follow the laws and Constitution like the rest of us do. Well, help is on the way, isn't it? Things are going to change. They're going to change. And we all remember how much better we were when President Trump was in office. The border was secure. We were safe in the world. I don't think what happened on October 7th, that horrific terrorist attack by Hamas, it wouldn't have happened if President Trump was in office. We know farmers were better off, law enforcement was respected, we were safe. And we can make it happen again. We can make America great again by electing President Trump in the Iowa caucuses January 15th. Now, I told you I went to my first caucus when I was 12, so I know how to do this, all right? But I want you to know something else. I am a Trump caucus captain for my precinct in Guthrie County. Now, who else here is a caucus captain like me? Thank you. Thank you. You are the ones who will make it happen. You still have a chance. We have the Commit to Caucus cards. Fill one out. There are people here who have not filled out one of these cards. We need all of you. America needs you. Your country needs you. Because the polls don't matter. The one that really matters is caucus night, isn't it? And that will be determined by you showing up on caucus night, ready to vote with your friends and family, at least 10, okay? And I've got a hat here for somebody who's going to tell me they're going to get 100 people to a caucus. I mean it, too. You know what? I mean it. I want to know who you are, and I'm going to find out, all right? Who's going to do it? 100 people. Who's going to do it? All right. Right there. Stand up, sir. What's your name? Chase? All right. 100 people at caucus. I'm counting on you. All right. This is for him. We'll get it for him. We'll get it for him. Tell you, Whitaker, he is good at throwing the ball, though, right? Isn't he, as a football player? Not me so much, but we'll make sure you have it. Fill out your commitment card. Make sure you go to caucus. If you've never been to a caucus before, now's the time to start. Get trained. This campaign has the best organization I've ever seen. Get involved. Bring your friends, make sure they vote, bring your ID, and you can also go online to ia.donaldjtrump.com and sign up. Because with your help on January 15th, we are going to make America great again, aren't we? And why is President Trump going to win big? Well, we could say he's going to win big because we know he's going to do the right job on day one, that he knows how to do it. We know he's going to run on his record. We know he'll secure the border. We know he has the absolute best supporters helping him out here in this state, dedicated. People who, on a cold, dark night in January, because I'll tell you what, if you think it's cold now, stay tuned for about a month, right? You have the fire of patriotism burning in your heart. And you are going to show up, you're going to work hard, you're going to make sure that you have your caucus won for President Donald Trump. Am I right? Are you going to do it? Are you going to make America great again? Are you going to fire Joe Biden and send President Trump back to the White House? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And, you know, I've got something special for a caucus captain here tonight, too. When you fill out your card, you get entered into a lottery to get a very, very special hat. So I'm going to be announcing the winner of this very special hat signed by President Trump. Okay. Fill out your card so you can get one next time, okay? Make sure you do it. Do we have Beth McBride here? Beth McBride. Right there, there she is. Do you want to come up? Are we good? Okay. All right, thank you. Don't forget, caucus, bring your friends, bring your relatives. Commit to 10. You have at least 10 cousins if you're like me, right? Get them to the caucus. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Let's see if we have one more speaker before President Trump walks out at 6 p.m. Looks like we're not. Hey, we'll take a few minutes to talk about our friends over the Tax Network USA. Now, that October deadline of the 15th, I know, has come and go, but do not let your tax troubles stress you out. Go to taxnetworksusa.com. That's taxnetworksusa.com and relieve the stress of taxes, whether you owe $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000. They can help you out. It's simple and easy. They've helped out thousands of our viewers. Take advantage right now before the president comes out. Go to taxnetworkusa.com. Information is on your screen. A lot of, obviously, people are excited. And one thing that kind of came through my mind, Vanessa, is, and she just said it, no matter how cold it is, on January 15th, get out and caucus for President Trump at 7 p.m.
Absolutely. Put on your knit hat, put on your scarves or gloves, and bundle up and get there. You know, I tell people all the time, Brian, I don't care what happens, I'll walk barefoot on broken glass to vote when it's time in the Texas primary. And so if you're in Iowa, make sure, if it's snowing that day, if it's cold that day, if it's warm that day, it doesn't matter. Make sure you commit to caucus and commit to 10, as was just mentioned. So bring 10 of your friends, family members, or more. But 10 is the minimal. We want to make sure that we have a great showing on January 15th.
All right, we're live here in Coralville, Iowa. Let's go over some of the numbers here, the latest polls here. And we talked earlier about polls and how he's really, President Trump at this point, is setting a record lead in the Iowa caucus up at this point. He's at 50% right now, a 32-point plus lead over DeSantis. In the state of Florida, he's got a 37-point lead. Nevada, 57-point lead in Nevada. And if you want to go to another swing state there, and I wouldn't say a swing state, but a very important state early on, is South Carolina. He's at 57%. That is a 38% lead on that. So President Trump is dominating the polls right now.
Yes, absolutely. And even though he's dominating, he's still making stops in these locations. He'll actually be in Nevada, on Sunday?
I believe on Sunday.
Sunday, yes. Our Matthew Alvarez will be there, making sure people get out and vote there in Nevada as well. So even though the poll numbers are looking great for the president, that's not stopping the Trump team and President Trump from getting out and stomping for votes. Going down south now, looking at Texas. Texas, he's up 57 points. Georgia, over on the East Coast, 52 points. And so looking at all of these numbers, even in New York, up 53, Ohio up 58, Wisconsin up 39, Arizona up 53. President Trump is sitting pretty right now, but we can't get complacent. We can't just sit here and twiddle our thumbs and say, oh, he's looking good. We've got to make sure that we get out and caucus. We've got to get out and vote in the primaries.
Yeah, I mean, if this was in a sports analogy, and I like to talk about this all the time, if your sports team was 38 to 42 points ahead in their division, or games ahead in the division, you'd pretty much call the championship over. Now, that is the case, in my opinion, on this GOP primary. But more importantly, Vanessa, if you go head-to-head with President Biden, Trump not only leads in almost every poll you have, and depending on who's polling and what state it's in, you can see anything from 2-3 points ahead to even 10-point lead on Biden. That is the bigger picture that we got to look at, is Can he win the general election? And that was a question early on that a lot of political analysts were talking about. And the answer is absolutely yes. We've seen that. And that's why we've seen so far, Vanessa, they are so against President Trump not only getting the nominee from the Republican Party, but they now know once that happens that he is a huge, huge threat to Joe Biden and the Democrats in the overall head-to-head election.
Yes, they're definitely scared right now. They're shaking in their boots, and that's why they're attacking him from the left, from the right, up, down, horizontal, any which way they can to make sure they can either keep him off the ballot, throwing all of these different hoaxes and lies against him. And what it's doing is just the opposite. It's backfiring on them and the American people. We're smart people. We see what's happening. We're seeing what's going on. And so the MAGA movement is strong. The MAGA movement is standing behind Trump because Trump is standing in front of the American people to make sure that we have a free country, a God-living country, that our country is safe, secure, and that Americans can prosper. You know, when I was growing up, it was the American dream. What's the American dream? You want to live the American dream, and that's what our parents raised us. You can be successful. You can live and do whatever you want to do in this country. But what's the American dream now? People are struggling. People are scared. People come to this country for freedom. I know people from Cuba who have come here the right way. They have come here legally. They've started their family, and they do still have people and family and friends in Cuba. And they say, we are on the brink of what we left and fled from. Where do we go next? So what is the American dream now? It's not the same as when I was growing up.
Yeah, and President Trump has talked about the American dream. It's affordability. It's for college graduates to go out and get a good paying job, to be able to afford to buy that first-time home buyer. We've seen first-time home buyer rates historically over the last 4 years drop to almost lows for an average of a post-college grad first-time home buyer. But when you look at these polls, what's interesting is you're finding a lot of independents, and even to a certain degree, I would say, Vanessa, moderate Democrats leaning towards Trump. And here's the reason why. Back in 2020, they didn't vote for Trump because they didn't like, a lot of independents stayed away from Trump because of his personality or for some of his political, maybe some of his tweets or things like that. And they voted for Biden just out of spite because they didn't personally like President Trump. Now you're starting to see that independents now know that that type of logic and voting will not play well, because we know what the Biden policies can do to the American family. We know what they can do to this country. So independents may not have been on board on President Trump early on in 2020, and certainly they weren't in 2016, I don't believe. But now in 2024, they know exactly what the Democratic playbook suggests and those policies and what they can do with this country. So you're seeing independents starting to lean more towards President Trump than President Biden, because we know what those policies do. We'll continue this conversation. I do want to talk about what happened on Capitol Hill earlier today, but we do want to talk about our friends over at the Birch Gold Group. We've talked about this digital currency, this replacement, basically the dollar being weakened in every aspect right now for qualifying purchases. It's amazing. They've got this special for the end of the year. Now, between December 22nd, you can qualify for $5,000. With $5,000 purchase, you can qualify for some silver coins. It's amazing. Go text the words Trump to 989898 for that free information kit to help to take that first step in gold, silver, and precious metals. Do it. We've had thousands of our viewers just like you take advantage of these specials. Text the word Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Earlier today, lots going on the Capitol Hill.
Absolutely. We had Hunter Biden appearing there in Washington, D.C., and we also had the impeachment inquiry pass for President Biden. The two cases are not related, but in a sense can be, and if you want to finagle your way through.
Well, in a way, they are kind of connected. Now, this is certainly two separate events, but
absolutely.
The formalized impeachment inquiry means now we now have more subpoena power to go out and bring some of this evidence in for a hearing on Joe Biden. Of course, we've had mountains of evidence, Vanessa. We've got the SARS reports. We've got bank statements. We've got emails. We've got eyewitnesses that can claim that and suggest that Joe Biden was very well involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings. And of course, this isn't with American companies. These are with foreign entities, foreign government, China, Burisma, and some other foreign countries. So we've got that evidence there. Now, as far as Hunter Biden is concerned, he was supposed to show up today in a closed-door hearing that was not public. And then later on go into a public hearing. Vanessa, he showed up, but he showed on the wrong side of Capitol Hill.
And that's just wrong. You know, it's do as I say, not as I do with the Biden family and the Biden administration. You had the Trump family and President Trump himself in depositions and hearings in court in New York City. They all sat through it. They all were interrogated for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
So if the Trump family has to do it and did it without any pushback, why doesn't Joe Biden's son have to do it? Because if this was Don Jr. who didn't show up, we would be seeing they'd probably be handcuffing him right now.
Of course, that's exactly what they do. But the good news is he's going to be held a contempt of Congress, and we've seen what happens then. Historically, Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon have both been somewhat arrested on that type of charge. So we'll see how it pans out with Hunter Biden. But more importantly, I think the House Republicans, the GOP conference today, Vanessa, they got it right. I like to say they put some points on the board. We've got an opportunity now to do what I think the American people want, and that is some type of accountability for Joe Biden, and we have not seen that so far. Republicans over the last 8 months have attacked each other. We've even expelled them from Congress. We got rid of a speaker for various reasons. But finally, we're going to move forward on impeachment of Joe Biden. So no, the chances of it going through the Senate are very slim, but we've got to do the right thing and get it through the House.
We have some movement, and I was reading an article just now while the speakers were on the stage, and it was saying that this is a big win for the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, with everything that went on today. So yes, good to see there's finally some movement, some headway, the ball's rolling, and so long time overdue, but today was a win. Yeah,
and I did see that the margins on there. We knew that some Republicans would be against it. If you would have done this vote 90 days ago, you would have had probably 8 Republicans speak out against moving forward. Now we've able to convince those moderate Republicans that are from kind of Biden-leading districts, some in New York, some in California, which to be expected. They've come around to vote for this. So we'll see what happens there. I think, Vanessa, that's going to continue the first of next year. So that'll be the first point of order, I think, when Congress rejoins on the other side of the New Year's.
And also, big news coming into Zelensky was in Washington, D.C. just yesterday, wanting more money from the American taxpayers, as I'd like to see it. And then also the House Speaker saying we've got to take care of our house first before we take care of someone else's house. We have an open border with millions of people streaming in. Just last week, Brian, it was a record-breaking day. I believe 12,000 illegal immigrants crossed our border in just one day.
Yeah.
And so we've got to take care of our house. So there's this battle right now between sending money to Ukraine, Zelensky coming to Washington, D.C., shaking hands with Biden, saying, give me more money, and the Republicans saying, hold on, we need to secure our border. This is an ongoing issue.
Yeah, this is 2 separate packages here, and this is what I don't like about it right now. House Republicans and, of course, Democrats want to combine funding for the southern border into the Ukraine package. That is 2 separate deals. That should be completely 2 separate packages, and that has not been the case. And in my opinion, they want that in there so that Mike Johnson and Joe Biden can do a victory lap, and Democrats can do a victory lap on securing the southern border through this aid to Ukraine, which is not... Look, Ukraine is not the 51st state. We've said that over and over again. Americans want this southern border addressed, and you don't do it through an aid package to Ukraine. You do it directly. It's called a border package, a straight-up 100% voter package with not all the other crap mixed in. But unfortunately, Vanessa, that's not how Washington works. They love to mix in other stuff to kind of, it's like, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. Even though we know that the border has nothing to do with Ukraine and Ukraine has nothing to do with the border, but it's the one way that we can work together to get things done. I don't like that approach at all.
No, I don't like it either, but we are approaching election year, and so be very mindful and don't forget where we've been the last 3 years. Be very mindful of what's going to take place in the next year. You might see gas prices being lowered. You might see the interest rates, better interest rates. You're going to see, okay, we're going to throw in this border package and with the Ukraine package so we can say, okay, we gave some money. We helped the border. Yes, we did. Be careful. It's election year. This is right out of their playbook to make sure that you forget where we've been, where you are now, the struggles, and turn it just a little bit so it looks good on them come election time.
Voters tend to have very short memories and things like that. It's a good point because those petroleum oil reserves that Joe Biden tapped in the last year, they have been depleted. They have not been refilled, and if they were, when they do get refilled, it's at a much higher rate than it was when President Trump had it to its max. So gas prices here, I did see that was considerably lower than it is in D.C. and certainly in the West Coast. But do not forget that this is a temporary, I call a head fake, a political head fake, so that all of a sudden you forget about the $3.50, $4, $5 gas you paid in the summertime, and that all of a sudden the gas prices seem to be on the average, I guess, of what's acceptable. So don't forget that is what's going on right now at the inflationary rate, which they say is down, but it may be down a few percentage points, but it's still
it's
way higher.
It was like 0.3 or 0.2. Like the mainstream media will say we're seeing an ease in our economy by 0.2%. Give me a break. I mean that's not enough I don't even see it.
And also with the jobs added, by the way, I want to say this, the last jobs report, there was about 19,000 jobs that were reported as new jobs that were nothing more than reinstating jobs like from the union strike, from the auto strike. So those are back on the books. So it's very misleading sometimes on these reports. So what I like to do, Vanessa, is do what kind of a common sense approach to it. What are you seeing when you go to the grocery store? What are you seeing if you're trying to buy a house or a car? What are you seeing if you're trying to get insurance for a house or your car? We've seen insurance rates, no matter what, depending on what state you go through, are incredibly high. So just do the common sense smell check, if you will, and how it affects you. And don't necessarily look at the reports because those can very well be spun to skew a certain way.
Yes, and that's what they do, and that's what the headlines say. Those are what the mainstream media, the people backing the mainstream media, that's what they want you to believe. And so again, just be very careful and mindful going into 2024 about some of these pats on the backs and rounds of applause that you're getting from the Democrats of how they're improving in this direction or that direction. It's only because they want your vote.
There you go. Hey, let's talk about real quickly how to donate. We've got great partners for this network. We've got the Birch Gold Group, Tax Network USA. We've got the free Trump book. We've got all kinds. We've got the My Pillows of the world. But we really have you, the viewer. So if you go to our website, rsbnetwork.com/donate, that is one of the best ways that you can actually give back to this network that helps us do what we're doing. It's going to be a long 2024. We talked about this last night. President Trump did about 39 rallies after the 2020 election, 39 rallies after the election. And then, of course, and now adding on all of the events like this since the election. It's going to get very, very busy, and we're going to be covering every single one of them. So you can help us by going to the website, rsbnetwork.com/donate.
Yes, we appreciate all of you who have donated so far. Please continue to do so if you can. We appreciate it all. But yes, we will be on the road a lot next year and in the skies a lot next year and just following the campaign trail and hoping to help save this country. So if you can donate, please do so.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this time around up in the northern states is we don't have COVID restrictions. If you recall back in 2020, when we were in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, we had COVID lockdown, so that you couldn't have these rallies inside like we are today. They had to be outside. That's why I think I had frostburn at about every single place we went back in October, November. But now these rallies and things like this can be held inside. I talked to a Trump team member earlier today, and he said, look, you're going to start to see a lot of this going on right now. These smaller, intimate, I say intimate, there's 400 people behind us, but these smaller events that are inside, which is a good thing because it's cold outside. But that's the campaign trail that we're going to be on. And I would say after the first year, we've got, of course, the caucus on the 15th. I would imagine that right side will be here probably that week building up to the 15th. And, of course, a little bit of post-caucus action. And then we're going to shift our attention over to New Hampshire, because there we are, mid-New Hampshire. There you are, the first primary of the year in New Hampshire. And then we're going to go on to South Carolina and then over to Nevada. So I think the Trump game plan at this point, Vanessa, is to wrap these 3 or 4 states up early. And then I think from there, you've got this, it's no longer a contest what it is right now, but that's their game plan. Wrap up Iowa, wrap up New Hampshire, wrap up South Carolina. He's got a 70-point lead or a 50-point lead in Nevada. So he's got Nevada wrapped up. It's looking good for them, but that's where now that pushes you into the spring and the summer, and that's where the majority of the rallies will happen.
Right, and so they need that momentum going into the spring and summer. And so if you're living in these states, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure that your friends are. Commit to caucus. Make sure you're voting in the primaries, especially these swing states where we need to win in those states as well. It's going to be a fun ride in 2024. I'm excited about it. And, you know, it's rewarding to be out here with all of you. Those of you sitting at home, those of you who come to these events, it's so great to meet all of you. The messages we receive, emails we receive, thank you for following us, and thank you for helping us want to save this country, because it's going to take a lot of people to stand up. The silent majority is no longer silent, and it's very good to see.
I think what's interesting, Vanessa, is the American people also want accountability. We want, I call it points on the board. I said it earlier. I've never seen the base so energized right now for change, and I think they're very frustrated to what has been going on in Congress. And we've had the majority since January. In my opinion, we haven't done much with it. Today was a victory. I'll take the formal impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden. But overall, what have we done? We've replaced our speaker, and you can argue, and I can talk until I'm blue in the face on why I think that was a bad idea. And it set us back, in my opinion. But then now we expelled George Santos. George Santos had one of the most conservative voting records in the House, and we got rid of him. Now, did George Santos have problems? Yes, but you know what? Leave it up to his voters, and leave it up to the court case. Once he goes, gets tried, he's found guilty of those things, then you punish him. Then you exercise expulsion. But to do it beforehand, to do it before a trial, and of course, do it in such a pivotal time where we barely have majority in the House. Now we're down to one, if I'm not mistaken, one. And you got one that just got diagnosed with the disease, and I don't know how long they're going to hang around. You got some that are going to retire early. Kevin McCarthy is retiring early. We're not at a point where we can sit there and expel our own in the House. Does George Santos deserve to be in Congress? Probably not. But I think he should have served out his term and given us a little bit more of a margin so that we can get stuff done. It seems like we've become our own enemy in Congress, Republicans. We don't worry about fighting Democrats. We fight each other, because you've got two sides. We all know this, Vanessa. We've got two types of Republicans. We got the ones that want to work for America, that want to work and get things done, and we have the ones that just want to get along, and they just don't necessarily want to do what the base wants. And that's that line that's been drawn that we have to fight and stand on. And I know I probably spend way too much time talking about this, but I'm more frustrated with Republicans in Congress than I am in Democrats. I know where Democrats stand on issues, but we want to fight each other on stuff, and we don't get anything done.
Right, and you never see that from the Democratic side. They stick together no matter what the issue is. They always stick together and fight across the aisle. As Brian just mentioned, the Republicans are too busy fighting each other that they're not getting anything done. So we want you to pay attention to that as well. When they're voting, who's voting for more money to go to Ukraine? Who's voting for issues that if you voted for your constituent for A, B, and C reasons, are they living up to what they promised on the campaign trail? Watch how they're voting. Make sure you're paying attention. Is there a website or somewhere people can go, Brian, where they can see?
Yeah, there is. I'll put it up on social media. It's a scorecard, but I don't know the exact domain. But there's a scorecard that you can go, and it shows exactly how they vote. But here's what's really amazing to me, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a second. Alejandro Mayorkas was the lowest hanging fruit that we could possibly impeach for basically the border, for basically the influx, historical influx of undocumented workers or migrants, and however we want to call them. Okay, our border is chaos right now. He's the lowest hanging fruit. We have Republicans, yes, America First Republicans that cannot get behind impeaching Mayorkas on the border. If we can't do that, then you might as well just walk away. None of the other ones are going to happen. Now, I'm very surprised today. No, I'm not, but in a way I am. Oh, let's step aside. Looks like the show's about to start.
Of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
Across the plains of Texas, unsee the shining sea. From Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun tonight. We have a little time, right? Hello, Iowa. I'm thrilled to be back with so many proud, hardworking patriots in the heartland, absolute heartland of America. Thank you very much. We're just 33 days away from Iowa, first in the nation. I wonder how you got that. You got that because of me. First in the nation caucuses, and we're going to keep you first in the nation for a long time. You know, the Democrats bailed out. And without Trump, you wouldn't be first in the nation anymore either. But we kept you right here where you belong. You're going to be here for a long time. First in the nation. On Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses, and then we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November, and we're going to very simply make America great again. And, you know, the polls came out just recently, and we're way, way, way up. You have to do me a favor, just go out and vote. You know, terrible things have happened. Oh, he's got it made. Well, wait till November. No, you got to get out, caucus, get out and vote, because we have to put big numbers up, really big numbers. Sometimes, you know, you're leading by so much. They say, oh, I think let's sit home and watch a movie, and we'll watch the results afterwards. And we don't want to do that. You got to get out and vote, caucuses. And after we do that, we'll worry about November. But we got to get Biden out of there. He's horrible. Worst president we've ever had. I want to thank Iowa Attorney General, who has been incredible. I'll tell you, she's an incredible patriot and woman, Brenna Byrd. Thank you. State Representatives, Luana Stoltenberg. Luana, wherever you may be, Luana, thank you very much. Great supporter. Steve Bradley. Thank you, Steve. Great. Heather Hora. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Mark Cisneros. Mark. Thank you, Mark. These are great people. Cindy Golding and Bobby Kaufman. Thank you very much. Great job, Bobby. Former Acting Attorney General of the United States, Matt Whitaker. And we have this beautiful, big, strong, physical specimen. I never knew they made punters that big. I didn't think punters, but he's a big guy. All-American, #1 in the country, Tory Taylor from the Iowa Hawkeyes. Oh, he's going to make a lot of money. I want to be his agent. Can I be your agent, please? I want to be his agent. Anyway, you're going to have a great career. Fantastic. Almost 49 yards a punt. That's a big number. #1 in the country. So it's great to have you. And the team is wonderful. Wonderful people. Thank you. Most importantly, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. You remember when I started, I said, we're going to bring back Christmas. People said, sir, it would be preferable if you didn't say Merry Christmas. I said, like hell, we're going to bring it back. And we brought it back. During this holiday season, families all across America are struggling under the brutal weight of Bidenomics. You know, Bidenomics means a lot of bad things. This year alone, the typical American family is $7,500 poorer because Crooked Joe's globalist blunders and greedy betrayals have really hurt us badly. Joe Biden is a low IQ individual, and he is truly the worst, most incompetent, and most corrupt president in the history of the United States. You know, I used to treat him with much more respect, but once they indicted me over charging a fake and broken and corrupt election. And by the way, yesterday Rasmussen came out with a poll. Did you see it? It said that on mail-in voting, 20% of the ballots were rigged and broken and disgusting. 20%. That's about millions more than we would have needed. And it's a disgrace what's taking place between open borders and a broken election system. It's a horrible thing that's going on. But I would have treated him better, and I treat him not necessarily nicely because he's a terrible president, but I would treat him with a lot more respect than I do right now, because what he did is he opened a Pandora's box. That's a very bad thing and a very dangerous thing for our country. The Biden administration is running on the fumes of the great success of the Trump administration. Without us, this thing would have crashed to levels never seen before. And if we're not elected, we'll have a depression the likes of which I don't believe anybody has ever seen, maybe 1929. That's what's going to happen. We're running on fumes. With your vote by Christmas, and we're going to have it by Christmas 2024, that's just shortly after the election, because of the momentum of our victory, we will have a U.S. economy roaring back, and in 2025, we'll have one of the greatest economic years this nation has ever recorded. You know that. People from all over the world will stop coming to the border because they will know that just like 3 years ago, think only 3 years ago, we were energy independent, we had strong borders, we had everything going. But they're not going to come because they won't be able to get through. 3 years ago, we had the strongest border we've ever had. Today, we have probably the worst border anywhere in the world, let alone in our country's history. Together, we're going to bring our country back from hell. Not one thing, if you think about it, has gotten better under crooked Joe Biden. Name one thing where we're doing well. We're not respected. The world is laughing at us. Under the Trump administration, you were better off. Your family was better off. Your neighbors were better off. Our country was better off. America was stronger, richer, safer, and more confident than ever before, I would say. And we had the best economy in history. And when you had me behind the desk of the Oval Office, people did respect us. Other nations respected us to a level I don't think maybe we've ever been respected like that. But just think of it. Were you better off 4 years ago, or are you better off today? Yeah, not even close. That's an interesting question. That's a question I'm going to be able to ask a lot. What a difference the president makes, and it does make a big difference. Since Joe Biden took over, we've had a 3-year inflation rate of over 20%. Gasoline prices are now $5, $6, $7, and even $8 a gallon. By contrast, under the Trump leadership, my leadership, inflation was non-existent, and we had gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Beautiful. And we'll do it again. Drill, 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 right? We'll do it again. After 3 years of Bidenomics, a 30-year mortgage rate hit a high. It's got the 22-year high, highest it's been in many, many years. Think of this, 22 years. But I believe you can go back because you can't get any money. At 9%, 10%, 11%, you can't get the money, even if you want to pay the interest. The average monthly mortgage payment has gone from $1,700 under my administration to $3,400 under Crooked Joe. That's a slight difference, isn't it? How when I was your president, you had a 30-year mortgage rate actually hit an all-time low, the lowest it's ever been, about 2.6. I think 2.6%, think of it. And now it's, you can't get the money. It doesn't matter what it is. It's anything, because you can't get the money. The banks don't want to give you the money today. A $2,000 monthly mortgage payment gets you a house worth less than $295,000. Under the Trump administration, the same number would get you a house that today would be worth $460,000. That's a big difference. As long as Crooked Joe Biden is in the White House, the American dream is dead. It's dead. You don't hear about the American dream anymore. People want to survive. But all of that will change the minute the polls close on election night 2024. We're going to have something that's going to be very, very special. Very special. Bigger and better and stronger than ever before. You watch. And it's going to go quickly. It's going to go very quickly. And we have to close up those borders immediately, don't we? Huh? People are coming in from prisons and mental institutions, the terrorists, many cases. The next economic boom will begin the instant the world knows that Crooked Joe Biden is gone and Donald J. Trump has won 4 more years as president of the United States. America will be far better off with Trump, just like we were 3 years ago when everything, it just worked. It all worked. Everything was working. The whole world respected us. Together we will once again fight for Iowa families and Iowa farmers like no one has ever fought before. Nobody has ever been stronger for farmers than Donald Trump. DeSantis doesn't even like farmers. He doesn't like farmers. I said, that's not good. He doesn't want to get that word out. No, he doesn't like farmers. He fought the farm bills. He fought everything. And I did just the opposite. I got him through. And I'll mention it a little bit later because we talk about it. I got you $28 billion, the farmers. $28 billion from China. How many people do you think would get $28 billion from China? But I got it not yet because Bobby told me, be very careful, sir. You're getting a little bit cocky with the $28 billion. I said, no. We're going to win Iowa by a lot because I got him $28 billion. Who else? Biden was sleeping. And you know what I was doing? I was tossing and turning, thinking about how I get you that money while he was sleeping. He was sleeping like a little dove. Unlike Crooked Joe, who wants to dramatically increase the estate tax or the death tax, I virtually eliminated the unfair death tax. I eliminated it from small business and farms. So that instead of, if you love your children, now if you don't love your children, then it doesn't matter. If you want to leave, does anybody not love their children? Please raise your hand. There's one guy raises his hand. Sir, would you please come up? Let's talk about it. That's funny. I'm sorry. I think he was kidding. I'm not sure. No, I don't think he is kidding, actually. No, but, you were, as you know, before me, they were going out and they were borrowing money and mortgaging the farm to pay the estate tax, or the death tax, as we call it. And now you don't have that anymore. You can leave it to your children if you love them. If you don't love them, just forget what I said and let's think about something else. But that's a big deal because they were losing their farms. You would pass away, you love your children, you'd leave it, they'd go out and mortgage the farm to pay the tax, and they'd lose the farm in many cases. But Brenna Bird would come along and she'd save them, your Attorney General. She'd say, we're not going to do this to them. We're not going to do it. Right, Brenna? She did. She actually fought for a lot of families who were put out of business by the estate tax, but now they're not because we got that ended. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. Actually, the deal I made with China might be better, but after COVID, I don't even talk about it. But they buy $50 billion worth of product from the farmers and manufacturers, but mostly from the farmers. $50 billion. Think of that, $50 billion worth, but I don't even talk about it. It was probably the greatest trade deal ever made. I thought they said 15. I said, what's the number we want? Sir, 15 billion. I thought they said 50 billion. Maybe the hearing's not quite as good. I said, all right, you better get 50 billion. So I'm talking to him the next day. How you doing? Sir, we're getting close. We're at 14. But I said, I don't want 14. What do you do? I want 50. And they got 50. We got 50. That was an amazing deal. But I don't talk about it too much. The deal was so good, in fact, that what we did with USMCA, it was unbelievable. The deal with USMCA, it's Canada, Mexico, it's so good that they're trying to renegotiate it. They've gone back to Crooked Joe, and if they give him enough money, I'm sure they'll do it. For him! Did you see Hunter today, right? He went to the wrong place. He went to the Senate instead of the House. Everyone's saying, where's Hunter? See, it always gets, where's Hunter? What a two-tier system of justice we have. I took on the Communist China group of very, very tough people, like no administration in history, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars when no other president ever got us even 10 cents. They didn't even ask for it. Got hundreds of billions, and that's when I gave the $28 billion straight out of the tariffs I took from China, and I gave them to large portions of your great state. You were the biggest recipient, large portions. That's why when I get a little carried away, I said, there's no way they're voting against me. Our great punter, I will tell you, there's no way. Are you from this state? Sorry? You're from this state?
No, I'm from Australia.
Oh, he's from Australia. Well, we'll adopt him. He said hello to me before, and I said, this doesn't sound too much like Iowa, but we'll take him. He is perfect. He's central casting. He's going to be a great one. No one gets abused on trade worse than American agriculture, as everybody in the room knows, yet no other president lifted a finger to help the growers, the farmers, the people that do what so many in this audience do. Under my leadership, we have a great rebirth of loyalty to the American farmer and to the American flag, because we've lost a lot of loyalty. Remember what I did with the NFL when they had a little bit of a sit-down problem, and they were sitting down. We didn't like that. I'll go around the world and I'll put every other country on notice. If you try and abuse our farmers, you will pay a very, very steep price, like China did. They paid a very big price. To that end, I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. You know what that is? That's if China or any other country, which they do, and we were all set to do it, and then we got hit with the China virus, but we were all set to do it. But if any of them make us pay 100 or 200% tariff, which some do, not only China, we'll make them pay the reciprocal tariff, likewise 100 or 200% right back. So if they're selling us cars or any product, And they put on the big tariff, which a lot of them did. We cut a lot of them out. We knocked the hell out of them. We cut a lot of them out. But if they do that, we'll say, that's okay, you can keep doing it, but we're going to do the same thing to your product. Even if it's not the same product, we're going to do the same thing. It's called reciprocal trade. They do it to us. We do it to them. It's really simple. We'll take in fortunes of money, or they'll drop the tax and we'll drop the tax, and we're all even. I will revoke China's most favored nation status, their trade status. They say, but we are a growing nation. Well, we're a growing nation, too. Just take a look at our cities run by Democrats. They're a mess. I consider it worse than a growing. They have to start from a negative position with all the crime and all the horror being caused in our cities. It's horrible. You don't have that here. You don't have that in other parts of our countries. But when you have these Democrat-run cities, they are a horror show. We'll impose stiff penalties on China and other trade abusers because they abuse us on trade. At the same time, I'll end Joe Biden's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill. We're going to get your energy prices down so low, and that's going to knock the hell out of the inflation. Don't forget, you're already up really close to 30% over the period of 3 years. Think of it, 30%. So we're going to get them, so we're going to start chopping the hell out of that 30% number. We're going to get them down so low. And you know what's going to follow? Interest rates are going to follow because inflation is going to be ended. And we're going to get your costs so low, your energy costs so low. Think of it, at $1.87, and we had times when it was even lower than that. But what a difference that makes from $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 some places in California is part of our common sense energy policies. And that's really what it is. It's not that we're conservative or we're anything. It's that we have common sense, whether it's borders or energy or taxes or anything else. But I'll once again stand up for Iowa ethanol. And just as I promised, and I promised this, I issued a historic rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round, and I got it done. Nobody thought it would happen. I even got something else done. I'll tell you very quickly because it's a lot of money, but it's a little boring to the average person in the audience. I got them to use the existing pumps. Does anyone know what that means? They had very good pumps, but they had to make minor changes, and they said, no, we want all new pumps, meaning government said that. The federal government said that. I said, what's the difference? They said, the old pumps are better. A lot of times that's true. Old equipment is better than new equipment. It's made better. And I got them to leave it, saving hundreds of millions of dollars for people here and saving you a lot of cost. It's a little bit boring to say that, but might as well get it out, right? I'll get it out. In contrast to my unwavering support for Iowa ethanol and agriculture, Ron DeSanctimonious wants to bankrupt the Iowa farmers. He does. He was totally against anything having to do with ethanol. And now all of a sudden he's a big ethanol proponent. But one thing about politicians, when they start that way, that's the way they end. They change for elections, but then they immediately go back. I've seen that plenty. DeSantis spent his entire political career vindictively trying to kill the ethanol industry, voting again and again to devastate Iowa families by eliminating the billions and billions of dollars generated each year from ethanol and wiping out about 48,000 jobs. So he was totally opposed to ethanol. You have to go back and look at the old clips. You know who he loved? Do you know who he loved? Fauci. Well, he loved me too. Yeah, I got him elected, so he loved me because I got him elected. He loved me. And yeah, I did. Then 4 years later, they said, will you vote? Will you vote or will you run against President Trump? And he said, I have no comment. They said, no comment. You know what that means, no comment. No comment means he's going to run. And I said, this guy's going to run. Now, he was so far down that George Washington, if George Washington came back from the dead, he couldn't have helped him. Maybe Lincoln and Washington together, but I doubt it. No, he was dead. He was gone, and I helped him, and I got him in. Then I got him past the general election. I got him past both of them. And then 4 years later, they said, will you run against the president? He said, I have no comment. I said, no comment. That means, Brenda, that means you're going to run to me. And a lot of my people said, sir, don't attack him. He's a Republican. I said, no, thanks. I don't need your advice. And my highly paid consultant. And speaking of that, I got your governor elected too, by the way. Isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? I took Terry Branstad, great governor, 24 years, set a record, moved him to China as the ambassador, did a great job. He knew Xi because he was selling corn many, many years ago, and Xi was a buyer. I mean, they actually knew each other. I said, what a perfect fit that would be. So I moved him. I said, Terry, you've been there. You set a record. Good guy. And she was a lieutenant governor, so she took over. But then she was losing badly to a very rich, they say good looking, but that's not my thing, farmer, a rich and good looking farmer. And she was losing badly, and she called, would you endorse me and would you campaign for me? Would you do a rally, a big, beautiful rally? I did it. And she ended up winning the election. And then she said she was going to be neutral on this election. And I said, well, I'd like to be neutral also. But that's not the way life works, you know. So I said, don't come around to any of our rallies. I don't want you. And that's the story. And then she endorsed somebody that has no chance of winning. He has no chance of winning. But she did that, and I don't blame her, you know, because I didn't want much to do with her. But she endorsed somebody that has no chance of winning. Think of this. So she goes out and she endorses, and she was one of the most popular governors in the nation, and now she's proudly the least popular governor in the entire nation. Did you see that? I couldn't believe it. But anyway, well, that's the way it is, you know. We love loyalty in life, don't you think? Loyalty, like loyalty to everything. If DeSantis had his way, the economy of your state would be blown to shreds, and there really wouldn't be, because he would be against ethanol. He will be against ethanol if anything ever happened, like a minor miracle. I would call it a major miracle. Unlike DeSantis, I will be your ethanol champion for 4 more years, and I'll be a farmer's champion and a manufacturer's. You know, you're a big manufacturing state. A lot of people don't talk about it, but we're going to be everything for your state. I'll also rescue the ethanol industry from Cricket Joe's insane ethanol-killing pro-China electric vehicle mandate. Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard? I want an electric car so I can go to the candy store, but it doesn't go much further. They don't go far. You know, sometimes a simple phrase is the best. Here's the problem. They don't go far. It costs too much money also, and they're going to all be built in China, by the way. I want to tell that to the United Auto Workers who are going to be voting for me by the hundreds of thousands. I will repeal that left-wing lunacy on day one. The whole thing with that Green New Deal, what a disgrace. It's a destruction, horrible. It's a horrible thing happening to our country. As we speak, the Biden administration is also negotiating to redistribute billions and billions of dollars in American wealth to other countries through the so-called climate reparation. In other words, we're paying a reparation. They're saying we were so bad that we're paying reparations to other countries. You believe it? You know what that means? That means we are paying for years of abuse to other countries when we've been abused by them. Their dirty air from China blows right over our country. We're supposed to be cleaning our air, but their air, if you look at the streams, their air blows right over our country, and their air is quite dirty. You know, they're building a coal plant a week. A coal plant a week. We're not allowed to use coal anymore. They're using coal, and I'll tell you what, they're using coal and we're using clean coal. We have clean coal. You can do things with coal that are amazing, but it's not possible to compete. What are we going to do with wind? Was breaking down all over the place. I passed a field today. It looked beautiful. There were about 30 wind farms or windmills, whatever the hell they are. They're rusting. They're rotting. They're making a lot of noise. I could hear it for 2 miles away. They're killing birds as I'm watching. There goes another one. And then the environmentalists say, we love them. We just love them. It's the most expensive form of energy. And, you know, but think of it. China's building every week. They're building another plant, coal plant. They're going to have a lot of energy, but every week, and these are big plants. These are bigger than anything we have. When I'm back in office, all climate reparation payments will be canceled immediately. We're not paying reparations to other countries who have abused us on trade, who have abused us on NATO, and we'll work to claw back any transfers made by Crooked Joe and his globalists in the next 12 months. He's literally giving billions of dollars to other countries that have abused us. They abuse us on trade. They abuse us on NATO and the military. They abuse us in every way because they have no respect for our country anymore. And then we're supposed to pay them reparations. Not going to happen. Crooked Joe puts China first. He puts Asia first, Ukraine first, illegal aliens first, environmental lunatics first. He puts everyone first. He doesn't put me first. He indicts his political opponent because he's doing so badly. We're beating him by 11, 12, 14 points. I saw a poll, 17 points. We're beating him by so much. So he said, what do we do? Let's indict him. He puts America last. He puts Iowa last. Well, he left Iowa. He left for another state. He left. You don't have that anymore, right? For years you had it. You don't have it. He left Iowa. He puts our workers last. He puts our farmers last. He puts everything that's good last. I put Iowa first. I put America first every single time I do it. It's a real easy one for me to say. That's so easy for me to say. It's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They're willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win an election. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because they're just losing so badly at the polls. They see these polls. The big new Des Moines, Iowa register poll, I mean, it's a big, beautiful poll. I never liked it too much until about 2 days ago. They're left-leaning, the Des Moines Register. Would you say slightly? He goes very left. They're not so happy with this result, I don't think, but they are left. No, but they have a great pollster, actually, very powerful pollster, very good, talented pollster. Of course, if my numbers were bad, I wouldn't be saying that. I'd say they have a terrible pollster. She doesn't know. She doesn't know what she's doing. But no, she's very good. So we're leading with 51%, while Ron DeSanctimonious is at less than 19, and Haley is at 16. What happened to the Haley surge? You know, there's a surge going on. You know, we had one on nationwide poll, because a nationwide, it just came out, morning consult poll, very respected. We're at 67%. DeSantis is at 13 and Haley's at 10. So think of it. Another one came out, we're at 76%, Haley's at 9. And I keep hearing about the surge from Haley. Sir, I'll never vote against you. I'll never run against you. You've been a great president, sir. I'll never do this. This goes on for a year and a half. Then I hear she's having a news coverage. I've decided to run. The whole thing, what's with these politicians, right? What's with these politicians? But also, what's with the Haley surge? You know what she was surging against? Him. So Trump's at 76 in this poll. She was at 9. He was at 10. She gained 2 points. I gained 9. So I gained 9. She gained 2. He gained nothing. He was even. He's flat. He's dead. He's gone. Okay? Forget it. Forget it. But think of this. Think of this. They've been talking about the Haley surge. So she goes up 2 points. I go up, I think, 10 points, 9 or 10 points. And they say that's the Trump surge. But they don't want to say that. They said she's surging against him, but he's gone nowhere. These are the most dishonest people ever in our country. These are the most... See, the cameras, those red lights start to go off whenever I... No, there's no surge. They don't have any surge. She has a guy in New Hampshire, the governor of New Hampshire, is very selfish. He could have been the senator. We would have taken the majority, but he decided he wanted to run for president, but didn't have the guts to do it. You know, it takes guts to say, I'm going to run for president. So he played on the fringes, it's called, and he'd go around, go do every show on how he should be president, but he never had the guts to say it. And he registered at 0 in the polls. And in New Hampshire, I was beating him by 60 points. And he decided not to run, okay? But he didn't have to say that because he never said he was going to run. He's one of these guys he was going to do, but he could have been a senator. Now he couldn't be elected dog catcher, and he couldn't be elected dog catcher. And he endorsed her today, and it's meant nothing. It's meant nothing. People are wise to this stuff, you know? They're really wise to this stuff. DeSanctimonious has been saying for the past 6 months, wait for the bounce. You know, he's waiting for the bounce. The bounce is going that way. It's going the wrong direction. So they're pretty close. She's sort of catching up, but we're about 50 or 60 points ahead, maybe even more than that in some of the polls. They did a morning consult. They did a morning consult. I don't know, Mr. Attorney General, did you see it? Morning consult did a poll of all of the states, the whole states. And if I'm like leading by 35 points, that's like a bad state for me. And then they talk about the bounce. The bounce has got to be a hell of a bounce, I'll tell you. But you know, one thing I have to say to you, because I know so many of you were friends, and I have to say this: we are leading by a lot, but you have to go out and vote, because so much means, you know, going out. The margin of victory is very important. It's just very important, even for foreign countries watching. But it's very important. That margin of victory is so powerful. Brenna was telling me before, she said, sir, you've got to say something about it, because you are leading by a lot. And sometimes when you're leading by a lot, everyone says, oh, why should I go and vote? The margin of victory is so important. And frankly, bad things can happen if you don't. I understand the feeling. Let's not. But this great spirit, you got to go and vote. We got to knock the one off, and then we worry about November, and we're going to win. We're way up on this guy. It's just incredible that he can, frankly, be even running anything. He can't put two sentences together. He's running. Can't find his way off the stage. See all the stairs around here? How the hell do you not? Where is the stair? He says, where is the stair? To show you how evil the press is, I did this routine where I stumbled and mumbled, purposely imitating him, and they put it on. They said, he's cognitively impaired. Then I walked back. I'm looking, and I walk. What? Where? And he walks off the stage, and he's like, said it was me. I couldn't find. So I can't use sarcasm because they're very dishonest people. You know, sarcasm is a disaster. Every time I use sarcasm like that, they say, I couldn't find my way off the stage. I got stairs all over. And if you want, it's only about 3.5 feet. I could jump off the front. But this guy can't find his way. So sarcasm's a very dangerous thing with a dishonest press. So, you know, I go through a long story because they actually had me like walking into, it's so sad. I said, do people believe that? And I just took a physical. You'll be happy to hear. Our great football player is going to be happy to hear this. I took a physical and I passed with flying colors. And I took a cognitive exam. I said, doctor, give me anything you want. I want to take it. I think you actually, if you're running for president, I think you should be forced to take it. They say it's not constitutional. So instead of, you know, look, we love our Constitution, but look what we have in office. This guy cannot pass a cognitive exam. But I took a cognitive exam and I aced it. He said, I aced it. Thank you very much, doctor. And you know who gave me the first time I ever even heard of it? Dr. Ronnie. Do you know Doc Ronnie? He's one of the great congressmen now. Ronnie Jackson. He was the doctor. He's an admiral. He was the doctor in the White House. He was my doctor. He was Obama's doctor, too, by the way. I said, who's healthier? He said, sir, there's no contest. I won't tell you the answer, but you know the answer. Okay, it was me. He said, you're the healthiest guy. He said, if he didn't eat junk food, he'd live to 200 years old. That's my kind of a doctor. But he gave me, at Walter Reed, they gave me a cognitive exam, and I aced it. I actually aced it, got everything right. And I took another one, got everything right. I would know when it's going bad. I would tell you, if it's going bad, I'll be the first to know. You know who would be the first to know? Front Row Joes would be the first to know. They will tell me, they'll say, sir, we love you. We've been here. We've gone to 120 rallies. But, sir, it's time for you to pack it in. And I'd want them. You know what? I'd want them to say that. I'd want them. But I feel that right now I'm sharper than I was 20 years ago. And I don't know why. I don't know why. You know, it's a funny thing. And it's a very minor thing. But I'm a much better golfer than I was 10 or 15 years ago. It means something. You know, it means something in a certain way. It means something. No, but I did. I took a physical, passed it. I thought I had an obligation, and I took a cognitive and aced it. I said, which did I do better on, my physical or my cognitive? He said, actually, sir, your cognitive. And I wasn't sure I was happy about that. He said, your cognitive is incredible. It's time for the Republican Party to unite, to come together and focus our energy and resources on beating crooked Joe Biden and taking back our country. Very simple. And every dollar these losing candidates are not going anywhere. These debates, that was the lowest rated debate in history. You know that. Lowest rated presidential debate. Nobody watched. Every dollar these losing candidates spend against me is a dollar donated to the campaign of crooked Joe Biden. They're spending all this money, and the RNC has to stop this nonsense. Now I guess they finally got out, but now they're being picked up by the enemy, CNN. That's the enemy. These are people that are so... They were one of the ones that did the thing with the imitations. You can't imitate. They were one of the groups that did the imitations. Did you see him? Did you see him? He couldn't find his way off the stage. I can't. Actually, it's hard to stay on the stage. There's so many exits, right? He couldn't find his way off the stage, but they were one. They're right there. Hello, CNN. Their red light just went off. Anytime I mention them, they say, get that light off. It's coming now. Nonetheless, we're dominating Crooked Joe in the general election. The CNN poll of battleground states has us leading Biden by 8 in Georgia and 10 points in Michigan. That's great because the auto workers are getting killed with this electric car. They're all going to be made in China. Poll numbers also reveal that African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, young Americans, and just about everybody else want to join the Republican Party. It's the party of the American dream, not the Democrat Party of open borders, chaos, uniform laughter at us throughout the world. And Biden and his allies are by far the worst representatives anywhere in the world on a thing called borders. Nobody's ever had a border policy like we do. I don't care if it's a third world nation. I always say no third world nation's as bad as we have millions of people flowing in. I believe it'll be 15 or 16 million people. That's bigger than New York State. And they're coming in from places that you don't want to know about. They're bad on policy. They're bad on taxes. They're bad on everything except for cheating on elections. They're good at cheating. You know, if they put that genius to running our country, we'd have the greatest. I wouldn't have to bother running. I could be a real estate guy in New York and enjoy my life. They would literally, but I do enjoy this. I shouldn't enjoy it. Who the hell gets indicted 4 times and has a good time? Who? Even Brenna's going, you're right about that. Right, Brenna? No, and you know, one of the things that's very soothing, it won't. One of the things that's very soothing is when you look at these polls, they're the best polls. The Des Moines Register said it's the best poll that they've ever had in terms of what we're doing with the lead, the numbers. They're the best numbers they've ever seen. When you see that, it makes you feel good. And that supersedes all of this political stuff that's going on against political opponents. And there's such a dangerous precedent they're setting and so bad for our country. But when you see the kind of numbers we're getting, and not just here, in every state. I mean, think of it, leading Michigan by 10 or 11 points. Michigan's always tough. Won it in 16. I also won it in 20, but, you know, they took it away. But what they did in 2020 is a disgrace. And you notice they never go after the people that cheated on the election. They go after the people that are looking at the people that cheated on the election. Think of it, right? It's a disgrace what's going on with our country. The radical left, Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. We're not going to allow it. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I'm being indicted. You have to remember this, and I believe it's true. I'm being indicted for you. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. This is an honor to be doing this. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way. That's truthful. You know, if I wasn't doing this, if I weren't running, or probably if I was in 5th place or 4th place or even 3rd place, this wouldn't be taking place. But we're so far ahead of him and we're so far ahead of everyone that they've done this. And, you know, now they're saying, let's rush it to the Supreme Court. We've got to rush it, rush it, rush it. They could have started 3 years ago. Nothing changed. They could have started 3 years ago, but they didn't. They started just recently with this crap. They started just recently. They could have brought this lawsuit, Brenna, 3 years ago, right after I left. It's been 3 years. But they didn't do that. And now they're saying, we have to go immediately before the Supreme Court. This thing would have all been over with 2 years ago. But they waited and waited and waited, and then they saw I was running, and they waited, and then they saw I was hot, and they filed lawsuits. These are very dishonest people. That's called election interference. And now they're fighting like hell because they want to try and get a guilty plea from the Supreme Court of the United States, which I can't imagine because you have presidential immunity. But strange things happen. But they want to get that because that's the only way they're going to win the election. It's a very sick thing. But think of it. They waited and waited and waited for years. In fact, nobody thought, everyone was saying they're never going to bring any charges. Most people said they're not going to bring them because they don't have anything. And then all of a sudden we started getting hit with these lawsuits. And in fact, in New York, in the DA's office, they actually took a top prosecutor from Washington and put him in the local DA's office. They took a top prosecutor from Washington and put him with Letitia James, a very fine woman. Very fine. A woman who campaigned without knowing anything about me. I will get Trump. I will get Trump. I will get Trump. She's screaming. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And they got nothing. They got nothing. But they have a good judge for them. And it's a very, sadly to say, it's a very corrupt system. But they got nothing. But they actually took somebody from the DOJ, put her there. They took somebody from the DOJ and put that person, top person, in the DA's office. You think my life is fun, front row Joes? You think it's fun? But it is for me because we're going to make our country greater than ever before. That's what it is. And this is far more than a campaign. This is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. That's what it is. Thank you. Thank you. We're engaged in a righteous crusade to liberate this nation from a corrupt political class that is waging war on American democracy. They are destroying our country, rapidly destroying our country in many different ways, with injustice, with borders, with taxes, in many different ways. They're destroying our country, with lack of respect from the rest of the world. If you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation right now. I mean, you look at school boards where they're going after the parents, where they're going after Catholics in particular. They're going after, how can a Catholic vote for this group of people? Or Democrats? They're going, I don't know what it is with Catholics. They're going violently and viciously after Catholics. They're going after Christians, but they're really going after Catholics at a level that nobody quite understands. Together we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built 561 miles of border wall, and we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. You know? They always say, oh, but did he get money from Mexico? First of all, I built more wall than I said I was good. I thought it would be 350, 400. We did 561. We were ready to add another 200. Could have been done in 3 weeks, but these guys ended up not putting it up. All you had to do is slap it up. It was all built. And they put it in areas, and I hear they sold it for pennies on the dollar, and it was the exact wall that the Border Patrol wanted, who are great people, Brandon Judd and all of the people that I had working on the border. These are incredible people. And we worked with Tom Homan, who he's central casting. He was fantastic. But I appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, which no other president was doing. They talked about it. They never did it. They all talked about it for decades and decades. They never did it. I got it done. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And actually, probably most important of all, but Biden's done nothing with it, I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. The Iran nuclear deal was a disaster for Israel. Nobody wanted it in Israel, and they just went through Obama and Biden. They pushed it through, and it was a terrible thing. I withdrew from it. But they didn't do anything with the withdrawal. You know, Iran was broke when I was president. China wasn't buying oil. India wasn't buying. They weren't buying. They were broke. and you didn't have the problems that you had now, you would have never seen an attack on Israel. It would have never happened. You would have never seen an attack on Ukraine. It was never going to happen. I got along very well with Putin. It was never going to, listen, it was never going to happen. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had any of the problems. All of these problems, inflation was caused by the crazy energy prices that this guy caused to happen. And with the historic Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. We had peace in the Middle East. We would have had people signing left and right. And for 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. And I kept the entire world safe. You know, there's a great leader, a very powerful leader in Hungary, Viktor Orban, and they interviewed him 2 or 3 weeks ago. Viktor Orban, very powerful man, very respected. Some people don't like him because he's a tough guy, but they said the whole world is exploding. Look at what's going on in the Middle East, and everything is exploding, and the world is a mess. He said there's only one thing that can be done. They said, well, what would you do, and what would you tell Biden? He said, I'd tell Biden to resign. You have to put Trump back in power, because when he was here, China respected him, and Russia respected him, and everybody respected him, and North Korea, Kim Jong-un respected him, and we had no problems, and he's acting up again, and it's very sad to see that, but we had a very good relationship. But when Trump was here, we had no problems with this man. The whole world is collapsing. You could end up very easily in World War III. You could end up in a World War III that would be like no other because of the weaponry, nuclear weapons in particular, but a lot of weapons. And the level of weaponry now is at a level this won't be army tanks going back and forth shooting each other. This will be obliteration. And we have a man that is grossly incompetent as our chief negotiator. That's Biden. And we can't have this. We can't have this. You'll end up in World War III. We will once again have peace through strength if you put us in. And when we become the 47th president of the United States, you'll see things happening at a much different level. You will be respected again. We will be a great nation again. And I'm the only candidate who can make this promise to you. I will prevent World War III, and we are much closer than anybody understands. Don't forget, we have 11 months to go. It doesn't sound like a long time, but the kind of destruction they do, we have 11 months to go, and the kind of destruction they do is, that's a long time. They can do a lot of damage. I'm talking about people from within our country. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion of our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. We have no choice. I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, and I will implement strong ideological screening on all immigrants coming in. If they want to blow up our country, if they want to kill our people, we're not letting them into our country. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists and then don't want your country to be great, you don't want America to be great and loving and caring, you're not coming into our country. We will restore law and order to our communities, and I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical, out-of-control prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. And something very, very important to me, because I've seen crime go to levels that nobody can even imagine over the last few years, in the cities in particular. I am going to indemnify through the federal government all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States for being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong actions on crime. They're afraid to do anything. They're forced to avoid any conflict. They're forced to let a lot of bad people do what they want to do because they're under a threat of losing their pension, losing their house, losing their families. They're afraid to do anything. They're incredible people. Among our greatest people, law enforcement, policemen and women, they lose their pensions, they lose their families, they lose their house, they end up on the street. we are going to indemnify them against any and all liability. And we're going to stop crime in our cities. That is generally something a governor will do or a mayor will do. But we have to step in. We have to stop crime. You can't walk outside. Washington, D.C. is a horrible situation. People are being killed all the time there. They go to Washington to see our capital. We're going to have the federal government take over Washington, D.C., clean it, scrub it, build it, make it so magnificent, bring it back, and make it, most importantly, safe. We're going to do a federal takeover of Washington, D.C., and make our capital great again. We're going to make our capital great again and safe again. Unlike DeSantis, I will protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors. He doesn't want to do that. We're also going to fight to give you much better health care. Obamacare is a catastrophe for American families. Even Elizabeth Warren, often referred to as Pocahontas because of her great Indian heritage, she agrees that it needs to be fixed. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. You remember that one? A name from the past. Pocahontas. They said, you must apologize to her. I said, I apologize to Pocahontas, the real Pocahontas. We're going to make it much less expensive for the people and much better care for American patients. And on day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding of any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children, right? And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. None. And I will keep men out of women's sports. No, it just shows you how crazy this is. You know, think of it. That I have to say, so I guess I'm a politician. I think of myself as a real estate person, a business person, but I guess I'm a politician, right? I became president. I guess I'm a politician. But to think that I'm standing up here saying that I will keep men out of women's sport. Who the hell ever thought that? When did that start? Like 8 years ago, 10 years ago? Oh, but there's worse than that. You have things that are unbelievable. You know, with transition, a lot of transition. You have things that are unbelievable that you say, like, for instance, I will stand up for parental rights. Who the hell wouldn't stand up for parental rights? No, but why would you have to say that? I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. I will protect innocent life. We will restore free speech. And very importantly, I will secure our elections. We will do it differently. And our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. One-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID. But until then, you have to get out and you have to vote. Please get out and vote. Pretend we're 1 point behind instead of 35 points up. The more we win by, the more we have a voice. Think of it that way. You got to get out and vote. Even if you think we're going to win, who knows? You know, sometimes polls are wrong. I mean, they got to really be wrong. That would be record setting. But you got to get out and vote. And then we worry about November. You know, do one thing first. Biden, I can't imagine this guy. I just can't even imagine that he can be acceptable, allowing the millions and millions of people into our country like he's done. Afghanistan, you know, we forget about Afghanistan. Most embarrassing day in the history of our country. All the things that he did are so bad. But we have to worry about this caucus coming up. January 15th, Martin Luther King. It's Martin Luther King Day, so it's easy to remember. We have to get out and vote, even if we're going to do well. The people, the caucus captains, I saw them backstage, and they said, oh, sir, it's going to be great. We got to make it great. We can't sit home. If we sit home, we're losing. You're hurting us because we have to put up big numbers. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, and I used to say the 5, but it wasn't enough. You couldn't add them up. The 10 worst in the history, they would not have done the destruction to our country as Joe Biden as his horrible administration have done. So if you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden, then get every patriot and Everybody that you know, register Republican. We have to get registered Republican. Go out and register and get them out and vote in their local precinct caucus at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. on Monday, January 15th, Martin Luther King holiday. And we're asking you to commit to caucus for us and bring as many people as you can. Say, Irma, let's go. Well, I really was wanting to watch television. No, I'm sorry, Irma. Sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com. Okay? So in conclusion, together we're taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. Some of the most menacing forces, many from within our country. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, and they are vicious, vicious people that I believe hate our country, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home, this is your heritage, and your American liberty is your God-given right. You're not allowed to use the word God anymore. Did you see that one? They don't want you to use the name. They don't want you to say God anymore. From Sioux City to Iowa City, from Fort Dodge to Cedar Rapids, and from Des Moines to Davenport, we stand on the shoulders of generations of Iowa patriots who gave everything they had for our country and for our freedom. Incredible people, incredible, brave, strong people. This great state was founded by tough frontiermen, strong pioneer women who defied the dangers to carve out a life for a great family, beautiful home and family. They tamed the wilderness, they braved the elements, they tilled the soil, they worked the fields, they built the factories, and they poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to make this country into the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest levels in our history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just a few short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation anywhere in the world. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be reducing their oil production while at the same time substantially increasing the price. And we met that threat by announcing that we will no longer be drilling for oil in large areas of Alaska or elsewhere in the States. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal is fake and will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all-electric cars, despite the fact that they can't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China with materials only available in China, when an unlimited amount of our gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States, but is not available in China. And now we are a nation that wants to make our revered and very powerful army tanks the best in the world. We want to make them all electric so that despite the fact that they are also not able to go far, Few pollutants will be released into the air as we blast our way through enemy territory in an environmentally friendly manner. And they also want to make our fighter jets with a green stamp of energy savings, though losing 15% efficiency, but allowing us to keep our enemy's atmosphere clean of emissions as we viciously and unceremoniously attack them at levels never seen before. Who are these people that would do this to us? Who are these people who would ruin our country? We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the United States just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a foolish and self-destructive thing? Can we be energy independent? Can we ever be energy dominant again? Yes, oh yes, and quickly, says President Trump. Yes, oh yes, and quickly. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world behind. And also abandoning Bagram, one of the biggest military bases anywhere in the world, and only 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your president, and for 4 straight years it didn't happen. Likewise, the horrifying attack on Israel would never have happened. They wouldn't even have thought of doing it if President Trump was in the Oval Office. It wouldn't have been a thought. Iran was broke under the Trump administration. They didn't have the money to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, and all of the other instruments of terror. But those sanctions were lifted by a corrupt Biden administration, and now Iran is a rich country with $200 billion and another $6 billion for hostages and $10 billion from electricity for Iraq, all compliments of an incompetent Biden administration. And China with Taiwan is next. We are a nation that allows the radical left to violently attack our cities, leaving behind massive destruction and death. And nothing happens to the violent criminals that do these terrible things. There is no punishment, but when the people who love our country protest in Washington, they become hostages, unfairly imprisoned for long periods of time. So sad, isn't it? So sad. We are a third world nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against opposing political parties like never before. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald J. Trump to lie and say it was fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, and the FBI knew it wasn't. But 51 intelligence agents said it was. And the Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war, which would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous world wars because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think about. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are indeed the enemy of the people. They refuse to discuss the Biden crime family, but enjoy covering the false indictments of Donald J. Trump, who has done nothing wrong except win an election. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed and where crime is rampant and out of control like never before. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And less than 3 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They respected us. They were afraid of us. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. Now Russia and China are holding summits to carve up the world. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that no longer is admired, respected, or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. We are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, faith, and even to God. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the very bottom of every single list. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up and kill their workers and customers, and leave with armloads of goods but with no retribution, where the authority of our great police has been taken, where their families and pensions have been threatened, and their lives would be destroyed for the mere mention of the words law enforcement. We are a nation where fentanyl and all forms of illegal drugs are easier to get than groceries to feed our beautiful families. A nation whose once revered airports, those beautiful, beautiful airports, are dirty, a crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave, and they have no idea when they will, where ticket prices have tripled. They don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't have the qualified air traffic controllers. And they just don't know what the hell they're doing. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was the hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it's the hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick political class. We will rout the fake news media. We will drain the swamp, and we will liberate our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all. Like those great patriots before us, we will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, we will never give in, we will never give up, and we will never, ever back down. With your support, we will go on to victory, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House, and we will take back our country on Election Day 2024. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten men and women will be forgotten no longer. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America great again. We will love our country. We will take care of our country. We will pray to God for strength and for liberty. We will pray for God, and we will be with God. Iowa, thank you very much. This was a great honor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. God bless you all.
Vanessa, that speech, I was timing it, went about an hour and close to 45 minutes, the president's speaking here in Coralville, Iowa, and delivered a lot of the messages that we've heard from him before, but some things that are very relatively new. But, he gave Iowa what they want, and that is the Trump vision for 2024.
Absolutely, and he hit on all of the specifics that are affecting the average, everyday American citizen, and he has reiterated it before. He's reiterated it again today, and the people love it. The crowd goes crazy. It's what they want. They want another Trump presidency. They want to save this country, and he's really good about reaching to this audience, and they can relate with him. But what I always love to hear him talk about are the topics, Brian, that we shouldn't really be talking about. Parental rights. Why do we even have to bring that up? Why should a presidential candidate have to stand on stage and talk about, I will protect your parental rights? Because that's just where we are in America, as well as men playing in women's sports. It's just a sad day that a presidential candidate has to get on stage and say, I will end all of this.
It is, and I actually blame Republicans that we're in this spot that we now have to say things like this, because if we would have stood up for it 20 years ago, we wouldn't be fighting for it now. So to your point, I'm glad the president's talking about things like this. I'm glad he's talking about border security, and I'm glad he's talking about potentially ending, or preventing rather, a World War III, and that's exactly what we're on the cuffs of, a World War III. So much to take away here in Iowa, but as always, he delivered on a Wednesday night here in Iowa.
Yes, to a packed house. People have, they got off work, they have work in the morning, kids have school tomorrow morning, and they still came out. A packed house, standing room only, as we always see at any Trump event. That's why we have brought in an extra cameraman to show the crowds, because here on RSBN we always show the crowds because it's always a packed house. And Donald Trump, the president, Donald Trump will be back here in Iowa on Tuesday, and RSBN will be here for that as well in Waterloo.
I was talking to one of the Trump advance team, and we were talking about January 15th, which is Iowa Caucus night, 7 p.m. We will be with the Trump team on Caucus night, and also we'll be at another location. We'll have two teams out here in Iowa. The president also making a couple appearances prior to that. We'll keep you guys informed on everything that's going on. We do want to talk about our partners for tonight. We'll start off with the Birch Gold Group. As always, if you want to invest in gold, silver, precious metals, they are the company for that. They provide excellent customer service, and they've got a very special offer for you. Now, you got to do it before December 22nd. Go check it out. Text the word Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Also, when it comes to taxes, we've got one company that can help you out on that as well.
Tax Network USA, the professionals there, they are great at what they do. They're ready to serve you. So as tax season nears in the beginning of the year, make sure you're prepared. They will help you with all of your taxes. They have a track record of success, having reduced tax debts for numerous clients of theirs. They can help you out. They're waiting to talk to you. So if you're wanting someone to help you with your taxes, that's who to call. Tax Network USA. Go to taxnetworkusa.com/RSBN RSBN. The information's on your screen, or you can call 855-225-1040.
And don't forget about that medical emergency kit. Dr. Peter McAuliffe has that for you, and makes a perfect gift this holiday season. Keep one at your office, one at your home, one in your car. Can deal with everything from a Z-pack to a tick bite. This thing's got it all. And of course, the website for that is pretty cool to understand. MakeCareGreatAgain.com. MakeCareGreatAgain.com. And to finish it off, the free Trump book.
Love it. Yes, yeah. Get you a free Trump book tonight. Go to freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com. Get it now, because these guys have been flying off the shelves. President Trump leading the Republican candidates for 2024 by a wide margin, and you can claim your free book tonight.
And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. Go to rsbnetwork.com, click on the newsletter, sign up. It's absolutely free to subscribe. You'll get it delivered to your inbox once a week. Our editor-in-chief, Grace Saldana, does a terrific job for that. You can also donate on the website as well, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Big shout out, happy birthday to our founder, Joe Seals. His birthday is today.
Yes.
I thought I'd mention that. I'm sure he doesn't. He doesn't want the world to know it's his birthday, but it's his birthday, Joe Seals.
We just told them. Sorry, but happy birthday to you.
There you go. And also, don't forget to follow us on social media all across the board at Truth Social, at RSBN, at Brian on Truth Social, and yours as well.
I'm also at Vanessa Broussard on Truth Social. Instagram, I'm there as well, Vanessa Broussard News. And I'm on X, Vanessa Broussard.
And I got a lot of compliments tonight on the way we look with the red sweater and the kind of the holiday feel. Shout out to Vanessa Broussard for giving me this new tie for Christmas, and I'm wearing it tonight. So thank you so much for a new red tie.
You know, Brian and I are from the same hometown in Texas, and he's the reason I'm here at RSBN. So that was my Merry Christmas, and thank you to Brian.
Oh, I appreciate that. I want to give you a nice shout out. But also thank you for watching tonight. Programming note, we are live in New Hampshire on Saturday night. And of course, we're going to kick it over to Nevada on Sunday, and we're going to wrap it up. Well, actually, between that, we're at Turning Point USA in Phoenix. We've got some coverage there as well. And then you're going to close out the year, I think, back in Iowa. Then, of course, first of the year, we'll be back here as the Iowa caucus starts on January 15th, but we're going to be here a little bit prior to that.
Yes, so make sure you are following RSBN, you signed up for our newsletters, you have our notifications turned on. That way you don't miss one event or one breaking news story from the campaign trail. That'll do it for us from Coralville, Iowa. It's been so good to be here with you this evening.
Good night. So long, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a kids guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring the Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
I'm excited to announce that we're bringing back our best offer ever on our original My Slippers. You save $90 a pair with your promo code. And now My Slippers come in even more sizes. Smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new styles and colors. Get them for your friends, your family, your neighbors, everyone you know. What makes My Slippers different is my exclusive 4-layer design that you're not going to find in any other slippers. My Slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help relieve stress on your feet. I'm so confident that you and everyone you know are going to love My Slippers that I'm extending my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2024, making them the best Christmas gifts ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen now. Use your promo code to save $90. That's only $49.98 a pair. Quantities won't last long, so please order now.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Right Side Broadcasting is known for panning the crowds.
showing the packed arenas and allowing you to see the truth. We've covered hundreds of rallies, briefings, marches, CPAC, and the historic overturning of Roe v. Wade. Right Side Broadcasting was created in 2015 by our founder, Joe Seals, creating a unique broadcasting experience that allows you to make your own decision rather than force-feeding you an agenda. We don't cut or edit people's words or twist them to fit a particular point of view. We allow our correspondents to be open about their opinions while maintaining journalistic integrity. Right Side Broadcasting wants to continue our legacy with help from people just like you. Your donations and support allow us to continue to be the gold standard in live, unedited event coverage. Help our cause by sharing our broadcasts, subscribing on our social media platforms, and supporting us on our locals community. Your monthly or one-time contributions on our website are crucial in our fight for the truth. Thank you for all of your generous support.